What a way to set the scene as we welcome you to the Capital One Orange Bowl here in Miami, Florida. Our matchup tonight features the champions of the Big Ten and the number 2 team in the country, the Michigan Wolverines, taking on the SEC runners-up from Athens, Georgia, the Georgia Bulldogs. A sold-out crowd here, and it's nothing short of electric inside the stadium. And welcome inside the broadcast booth. I'm Amer Bektas, and my partner tonight, Kelin Flynn. Kelin, how you doing tonight?
I'm great. Couldn't ask for a better atmosphere. Couldn't ask for a better night for some college football.
This is a rare matchup between two of the sport's true blue blood programs, as it is just the third time these two have met. Georgia won the last meeting 15-7 back in 1965. And, the path to the playoffs was unique for both of them. The Georgia Bulldogs dominated the SEC the entire season until they ran into the elites of college football. The Alabama Crimson Tide ended up losing 41-24 in the SEC championship game. On the other side, there's Michigan. Nobody expected Michigan to even compete in the Big Ten, let alone make a run at a college football playoff. And, Kelin, the odds are stacked up against them tonight. What do the Wolverines need to do to continue this success?
Well, the first thing is for the Wolverines is they have to try to continue to do what got them here, and that is running the football offensively. Georgia, the best defense in the nation. They're not going to make it easy. The SEC championship game, Alabama essentially gave up on running the football. But Michigan, one of the top rushing offenses in the country. They're going to have to use that trio of running backs, Hassan Haskins, Blake Corum, and the freshman Donovan Edwards to get something going on the ground. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they're going to have to create havoc. Use those elite pass rushers, Aiden Hutchinson, David Ojabo, to get home, keep Stetson Bennett under pressure, and hopefully they can cause some mistakes from that Georgia offense.
Plenty of storylines leading up into this game. One of those was Michigan and Daxton Hill. Would he be here in Miami? As far as we know, Harbaugh's been going back and forth. Dax Hill is good to go. He is on the field. He's going to play tonight. That's really the only big question mark, other than who does Georgia want to trot out as their starting quarterback. Is it Stetson Bennett or JT Daniels? But let's send it down quickly to Zach Linfield for a quick report. Zach, welcome to the broadcast tonight.
Thank you.
What are you seeing down on the field?
Well, the biggest thing that I'm seeing is number 30 on the chest of one of the Michigan defenders. Daxton Hill is here. He was running with the ones in pregame, but on the flip side of things for Georgia, JT Daniels, who was thought to potentially be the starter before he tested positive a few short days before Christmas, he was also on the field for warm-ups competing with Stetson Bennett. So unsure quite yet of who Georgia's starting quarterback will be when we kick off here in about 10 minutes.
We've seen the stats of how Georgia's offense is very dominant when they can protect their quarterback. And, when pressure comes, that's when Georgia struggles. How does this defensive line by the Wolverines, how do they bring the pressure to the quarterback there?
Well, they're going to have to do a good job of evading the offensive linemen of the Bulldogs. And the Michigan Wolverines, 2 edge rushers, we obviously know them. They're Hutchinson and Ojabo, especially when the Wolverines go to their nickel package. When Daxton Hill is on the field is when they're at their best when rushing the quarterback. They shouldn't really have all that much difficulty getting to Bennett or Daniels tonight, but it's a matter of, again, covering the cross-shorting routes and also making sure the tight end, Brock Bowers, is held in check because he is the best tight end in the country, only as a freshman, but the Wolverines also have to do a good job of protecting the interior defensive line because Georgia, in past years, they're very, very good at running between the tackles.
Now flipping it out to the other side, Blake Corum, he's been injured those last couple of games. How does Blake Corum's how does he affect this offense coming into tonight?
Well, Blake Corum offers a level of explosiveness that Hassan Haskins just doesn't quite have. Corum is much more of a home run hitter than Haskins is, and for the Wolverines to pull this one out tonight, they're going to need to have some explosive plays, and that's something that Corum provides.
Yeah, Blake Corum, really the lightning back for the Wolverines. We have that power lightning duo between the two. Blake Corum being really effective through the air for the Wolverines. He has 22 receptions for 143 yards. He's averaging 6.5 yards per catch and 14 touchdowns as the Michigan Wolverines are entering the stadium, which is predominantly, I'd say a good chunk is Michigan fans. But we're over here on the end zone where the Georgia Bulldogs are. If you're just tuning in, we would like to thank you to listening to us on 88.3 FM Ann Arbor and YouTube tonight as the Michigan Wolverines are getting set to take on the Georgia Bulldogs for a trip to the national championship.
Yeah, Alabama taking home the victory in the Cotton Bowl over Cincinnati. Great run for Cincinnati this year, but they just ran into an absolute buzzsaw that is Alabama. Bryce Young, the Heisman Trophy winner, Jameson Williams, that elite wide receiver. So whoever wins this game is definitely going to have their hands full in Indianapolis.
You mentioned Alabama. Alabama already punching their ticket to the college football national championship. So they await the winner of Georgia and Michigan as we're awaiting the Bulldogs to enter the field. So let's take a look at this Michigan defense. We've already talked about actually let's look at their offense. Michigan has one of the best rushing offense in the country, and Georgia, up until Alabama, they allowed less than 10 points per game. What's going to give between those two tonight?
Well, that really is the biggest question, is can that Michigan rushing attack break through that stout Georgia defensive line? That defensive line, one of the best in the country, led by Jordan Davis and Deontay Wyatt, two very, very talented players. Going to be really, really tough for the Wolverines, but their offensive line is the best in the nation, winning the Joe Moore Award for the best offensive line in the country. So both teams are going to have a tall task ahead of them, kind of a clashing of titans, if you will, strength versus strength.
It's that bend, don't break mentality that we've talked about all season long, and Michigan's going to have their hands full because this defense on the Georgia side of the ball runs through Nakobe Dean, one of the top linebackers in the country. But we're going to take, right now, the team captains are heading to the center of the field. Let's send it down to ground level for the coin toss between these two.
Looks like we're just moments away from the coin flip.
Gentlemen, congratulations on reaching the college football playoff semifinal game. This is the Capital One Orange Bowl. I'm Scott Campbell, the referee. Robert Richardson will be tonight's umpire. The president of the Orange Bowl committee, Mr. Jack Seiler, will be presenting the Orange Bowl coin for tonight's toss. Mr. Seiler? The Capital One Orange Bowl shield is heads. The college football playoff logo is tails. Georgia, you're the visiting team. You get the honor to call the toss. Tails is the call. I'm going to flip it and let it hit the... Tails is the call. It is heads. Michigan, you've won. Defer. Michigan has won the toss. We'll defer. You're getting the football. Which direction do you want to kick? Put your backs to that goal line. Georgia over here. Georgia will receive at this end. Shake hands, guys. Let's have a great playoff game.
So as you heard, the Michigan Wolverines winning the coin toss, deferring for the second half. So right away, we're going to see this Georgia offense out on the field. Talk to me a little bit about these tight ends for the Bulldogs.
Well, that's really where it starts with this Georgia offense. Zach already mentioned earlier in the broadcast, number 19, the freshman Brock Bowers. Somehow not a finalist for the Mackey Award for the best tight end in college football. That's just absolute blasphemy that he was not even a finalist for that award. Just an explosive player, led the team in receptions, led the team in yards, their best receiving threat. And Michigan has struggled with tight ends occasionally throughout the season. Daxton Hill being available for this game is huge in that respect because he could be one of the guys they look to use to neutralize Bowers the best they can.
So Michigan is the home team, and they will be wearing their home uniforms, electing to go with the all-navy blue jerseys for the 4th time this season with maize numerals and the iconic maize helmet. The Georgia Bulldogs with their road whites, white tops, white bottoms, black numerals. We're just moments away from Michigan's first ever college football playoff.
Yeah, very exciting for everyone in Ann Arbor and all the Michigan faithful all across the country. This is the big time. This is it. This is what you look forward to at the start of the season. You look to getting to this moment right here to play for a chance at the national championship game. It all comes down to this for the Wolverines. One of the biggest game in the program's history of at least the last 20 to 30 years or so, arguably of all time.
We're moments away as Jake Moody has it teed up in front of a sold-out stadium in Miami. Waiting at the Georgia goal line is McIntosh. For a berth to the national championship, and we are underway. It's going to be taken inside the 10-yard line, and McIntosh is going to bring it out before he gets tackled at the 20-yard line right there. Here comes that Georgia offense.
Yeah, it looks like Stetson Bennett will be getting the start. JT Daniels appears to have his helmet off.
Let's take a look at the starting offensive line for the Georgia Bulldogs. You got Jameer Salyer, Justin Schaefer, Cedric Van Pran, Eric Warren Erickson, and Warren McClendon. And at quarterback, Stetson Bennett. To his right is Zamir White in the shotgun on the 20, 1st and 10 for the Dogs. The give is to White. White up the middle. He's got space right there, and he's going to be really close to a first down. Georgia keeping it on the ground on that first play, a gain of 9 yards.
Yeah, early on noticing no number 1 on the field for Georgia. That is George Pickens, their most talented and best wide receiver. Tore his ACL in the spring, not out there so far. Be interesting to see if he makes an appearance. Played against Georgia Tech, played against Alabama in the SEC championship game.
So 2nd down and 1. Bennett is in the shotgun. 2 wide receivers to his right, 1 to his left. Zamir White is the back. Fake handoff to Zamir White. It's thrown out to the wide receiver, and it's caught, and they got the first down. They're almost out to halfway on the field.
Yeah, Adonai Mitchell there, the freshman, making a play early. Georgia does not throw a ton to their wide receivers. Like we've mentioned earlier, a lot of it to the tight ends when they go through the air.
So 1st down and 10 for the Georgia Bulldogs. Ball is all the way out on the 45, still in Georgia territory. Bennett in the gun. Zamir White to his right. Signals the tight end in motion. Bennett receives the ball, drops back in the pocket. Here comes the pressure. He's going to get it away, and he's got a wide open wide receiver, and it's caught inside the 20-yard line. Who else than Bowers, the tight end for the Georgia Bulldogs?
Yeah, pressure was coming, just couldn't get home quite in time. Stetson Bennett hanging in the pocket, delivers a strike to Brock Bowers down the left sideline, and Bowers able to haul it in for the huge chunk play. Georgia's offense is rolling early.
Georgia trying to go with some up-tempo offense right now. They're going to go with the empty backfield. They are in the red zone of the Wolverines. Ball on the 20. Bennett gets the ball. He's going to throw it out to Bowers right away. He's got blockers in front of him before he gets taken down by Josh Ross on the tackle right there. Gain about 6 yards.
Yeah, screen there to the tight end, Bowers. Expect more of that tonight. That's something they really like to do. Hit him on little screens, quick passes to get the ball in his hands and try to get him in space.
So right away, Georgia's first time out on the field. They are in the Michigan red zone.
In the red zone, look for number 0 here. Darnell Washington, 6'7" on those jump balls.
8 seconds left on the play clock. Bennett in the gun. 3 receivers to his left. Bennett receives the ball, hands it off to his back. It's Zamir White. Zamir White gets a couple of yards before he's met by multiple Wolverines right there.
Michigan run defense staying strong there. Like you mentioned earlier, Amer, bend, don't break. Wolverine defense has let Georgia all the way down to about the 20. Can they hold?
Brad Hawkins with the tackle. It's going to be a 3rd down and 1 for the Bulldogs. Could this potentially be 4-down territory if they don't get the 1 yard? They have to get to the 11-yard line to get the first down. Here we go. Let's see. Bennett is in the gun. 2 wide receivers to his left.
Stetson Bennett, a threat to run in these kind of situations. Look for a potential option here, an RPO.
Bennett receives the ball before there's a flag. Looks like Georgia called the timeout.
Prior to the snap, timeout, Georgia, first of the half. Timeout on the field.
Kirby Smart electing to go with the timeout right there as the play clock was winding down. 11:29 left in the first quarter. We remain scoreless, and we'd like to thank you for tuning in on 88.3 FM Ann Arbor and to our YouTube listeners. What are your thoughts so far on this, Kelin? You know, Georgia Bulldogs, they started on their 20-yard line. They've gone down the field. They're in Michigan red zone right now.
Yeah, they just came out and punched Michigan in the mouth. Ripped off a big gain on the ground on their first play, and then they were able to have the chunk play to Bowers. Michigan knows that they're going to target Bowers. They know that he's their main threat in the passing game, so you have got to try to take him away. Make these other guys beat you, especially with no George Pickens on the field so far. Make these young receivers beat you. You have to be much more confident in your corners to be able to win one-on-one against their receivers. Your corners have been solid all year, not elite, but Georgia's receivers are not elite either.
So Brock Bowers, the freshman from Napa, California, 6'4", 230, one of the best, if not the best, tight ends in all of college football. He has 47 receptions for 791 yards and 11 touchdowns, averaging 18.8 yards per catch, and that's where they run through. You know, you had George Pickens, who tore his ACL earlier this year. He was potentially a first or second round pick last year, so a huge blow for the Georgia Bulldogs. But we saw him in the SEC championship game. Did not look as great, but still could be a threat if he's 100% with that long layoff in between the 2 games.
Yeah, Pickens made one really nice downfield grab in the SEC championship game against Alabama. He's 6'5", so he really has that jump ball threat downfield. But so far, no Pickens, which is a little bit surprising considering, like you mentioned, the extra long rest period, the layoff. You would think that maybe they'd give him some time to get healthy, get some more run and practice. So far, haven't seen him yet.
So both teams are heading back out onto the field as we're about 10 seconds away from coming out of the media timeout. A big 3rd down play right here could be really setting the momentum. If Georgia is able to get that first down, they continue driving. If Michigan gets a stop right here and squeaks away with only allowing Georgia a field goal, that'd be huge for the Wolverines on this first drive.
Yeah, it looks like maybe 3 tight ends in the game, for the Bulldogs.
So they're shifting on the line. Bennett goes under center. They're going to go in the I formation. White is the back. Bennett receives the ball, hands it off to White. White up the middle, and he's got the first down right there. He's met by Josh Ross, and the Georgia Bulldogs are able to move the chains.
Yeah, it's a big conversion there. They had 3 tight ends in the game. Everyone's expecting run there, and they're able to just overpower that Wolverine front, get that yard that they needed.
So this Georgia opening drive continues as they are inside the 10-yard line. It's going to be 1st down and goal for the Georgia Bulldogs. Michigan defense right now getting carved up a little bit. They're going to go in the shotgun formation. We're going to have Cook as the back this time. Fakes the handoff to Bowers, and Bowers is in for a Georgia touchdown. Brock Bowers, 9-yard touchdown. Georgia scoring on their opening possession.
Yeah, and that was all Brock Bowers all the way down the field. I mean, he is that dude at tight end. Is the best in the country, in my opinion, and in the opinions of many others. He's just so explosive, so dangerous, and he showed the Wolverines firsthand right there.
So that replay of that last play. It was a RPO to Cook, and then throws it out to Bowers. Bowers with the 9-yard touchdown as the field goal is up and through, and Georgia is up 7-0 over Michigan. 10:49 left in the first quarter. That first opening drive by the Bulldogs, 7 plays, 80 yards, 4 minutes and 11 seconds off the clock.
Yeah, Stetson Bennett looked really good on that drive too. Bennett staying strong in the pocket on that throw to Bowers, something that many were worried about, him under duress, able to make a big play there. If he's going to play like that all game, that's something dangerous that the Wolverines need to be aware of and worried about.
It's going to be a battle of the offenses. And for the first time, we're going to see this Michigan offense out on the field.
Wolverines going to look to establish something on the ground, but look for Josh Gaddis throughout this game to show some creativity. He did in the Big Ten championship game. He did against Ohio State. He's going to need to scheme up some big plays, some chunk plays, if the Wolverines want to have a fighting chance in this one. A.J. Henning, very lethal return man as well back there for the Wolverines. He's been a difference maker on special teams in the punt game and the kick return game.
Number 90 for the Georgia Bulldogs, Jake Camarda, has it teed up, and he sends it up and away. A.J. Henning at his own goal line is going to let it sail over, and the Michigan Wolverines will start at their own 20-yard line. Opening drive for the Michigan Wolverines.
Yeah, expect the Wolverines to try to establish the run here, likely going to have some difficulties. If the Wolverines want to win this game, one of their young receivers is going to need to step up in a big way. Earlier in the season, it's been Roman Wilson against Iowa. It's been Andrell Anthony against Michigan State, even though they lost that game. Still a huge game from the freshman. Somebody is going to need to make plays if the Wolverines want to win this game.
So the Wolverines will start at their own 25-yard line. McNamara is the quarterback. Schoonmaker's into motion. And we're going to have a flag. Let's see what the call is.
False start, number 68, offense.
It's going to be a false start on the Wolverines. The center, Andrew Vastardis, backing the Wolverines up 5 yards.
That's just inexcusable. You cannot have that happen on your first possession of the game, especially against a defense like Georgia. Being behind the chains already, it's not a place you want to be against this defense.
We are in the end zone where the Georgia Bulldogs are, the fans. So McNamara is going to go with an empty pocket. 3 wide receivers to his left, drops back in the pocket. He's going to go up the middle. He's got plenty of space. McNamara up almost to the 40-yard line before he slides. McNamara is going to take the space. You know, you watch the film on Caden McNamara. You know, he always gets hit like, oh, he can't run. He's not J.J. McCarthy. First play right there gets Michigan a first down out to the 40-yard line.
Yeah, McNamara definitely much more of a pocket passer, especially compared to J.J. McCarthy, who they like to run a lot of bootlegs and quarterback runs with. But he's shown on a couple occasions throughout the season that he's not afraid to, if he's given space, to take it and run.
So gain of 28 yards on that one for Cade McNamara. McNamara hands it off. It's going to be a flea flicker. McNamara is going to go across. He's going to keep it low to Hassan Haskins. And he gets tackled by 3 Georgia Bulldogs.
And there it is already. Josh Gaddis bringing out the flea flicker. But it's defended well by the Bulldogs. They're only giving up 5 yards. They had Schoonmaker, I believe, on a downfield post. That's what they were looking for the big play. Couldn't convert.
That play right there, Lewis Seen read it from the beginning. Otherwise, Schoonmaker is into open territory. But here we go. Handoff to Haskins. Haskins breaks a tackle and trucks a player, and he's into Georgia territory.
Huge run there by the Wolverines. Looks like it was Donovan Edwards in there, number 7, the freshman. Expect to see all 3 of these running backs for the Wolverines.
So Edwards remains in the game. Throws it out to Edwards. Edwards breaks a couple of tackles, and he's across the 44-yard line, Georgia territory.
Edwards, especially towards the end of the season, gotten a lot more play time for the Wolverines. Dealt with a little bit of an injury earlier in the season. He is totally healthy now. Had a huge game against Maryland earlier this year. Big contributor against Iowa in the Big Ten championship game.
So Michigan now into Georgia territory. McNamara in the gun. Haskins to his left. Handoff to Haskins. Haskins breaks it out to the left, and he's tackled by a couple of Nakobe Dean, that linebacker for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Nakobe Dean, All-American, one of the best players in the country, Dick Butkus Award winner for the best linebacker in the country. He is the heart and soul of that Georgia defense. It runs through him. He makes big plays for them. Sometimes the guys up front, Jordan Davis, get a lot of the love for being big, but Nakobe Dean is the real difference maker on this Georgia Bulldog defense.
3rd down and 4 for the Wolverines. Ball on the Georgia 41. McNamara in the empty pocket. Drops back. Clean pocket right there. Short pass to Schoonmaker, and it's off the hands. Intended for Luke Schoonmaker.
Yeah, just a drop there by Schoonmaker. Got to haul that one in. Interesting position here for Jim Harbaugh.
Looks like they're going to keep their offense out on the field.
This is a position where Harbaugh has not been afraid to go for it this season on the 41-yard line.
So big play right here. Michigan electing to keep their offense out on the field. McNamara is going to be in the empty gun. They need 4 yards for the first down. 3 wide receivers to the right, 2 to the left. McNamara drops back in the pocket, looks to his left. He's got a man open, intended for Eric All, but he cannot haul it in. Wolverines turning it over on downs.
That Georgia defense holding strong.
Timeout on the field.
And the Wolverines throughout this season, or throughout this game early on, have been spreading out the field a lot. Very different from what we've seen typically from them. More of a ground and pound, I form. We're going to run it straight up the middle, down your throat. They've been spreading it out, maybe seeing some things they like that Alabama did.
So 7:59 left in the first quarter. Georgia scoring on their opening possession, 80 yards, ending with a 9-yard touchdown pass to Brock Bowers. Wolverines, first possession, 4 and out.
Yeah, that's obviously not ideal for the Wolverines, but they did move the ball very well down the field until they got to that point, able to create some plays, get guys in space, which is something they've looked to do. 2 plays at the end there that were just inches away from being converted potentially.
And you go back to those 2 throws by Cade McNamara. The most recent one intended for Eric All, just a little bit too far for Eric All. He would have had the first down, but he could not haul it in. So the Wolverines are going to turn it over to Georgia on the 41-yard line now. This defense really needs to step up for them.
Yeah, the way Georgia moved the ball down the field effortlessly on that first drive, this is a team that's very motivated after that loss to Alabama. Had been the #1 team in the country most of the year. They've got to stew on that loss for a few weeks now, and they're coming out angry and have executed perfectly so far.
You know, you mentioned the loss to Georgia or to Alabama in the SEC championship game, and do you think that hurt the Michigan Wolverines or helped them? Or Georgia?
I believe that it helped Georgia. If they're looking at it from a national championship perspective, obviously it would have been nice to be the 1 seed and to play Cincinnati, which is thought of as a easier matchup than the Wolverines. But Georgia's still very confident in their ability to win this game and get to the national championship. And I'm sure they'd love to get another crack at Alabama and try to knock them off on the biggest stage.
Bama already advancing to the college football playoff, and they are the elites of college football for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Saban, what he's been able to do over there, building that program, nothing short of incredible. Saw a stat, they've won 11 games in 11 consecutive seasons. That's just unbelievable. Look for Georgia to continue to attack with Bowers on this drive here. and get some of their other running backs involved. Looks like Cook might be on the field here.
And they're very similar in the way they would like to play, Georgia and Michigan. It's just Georgia, they are dripping with talent all across the board. But here we go. Georgia's going to start on their 41. Bennett in the gun. He's going to throw it out wide to a tight end. He's got the catch, and he's going to be hauled out of bounds by Hawkins.
Yeah, Ladd McConkey on the reception there. Shifty player. Typically run him in the slot a lot. Another one of these guys that Stetson Bennett's really comfortable throwing to. Love getting him in space, getting the ball in his hands and letting him use his shiftiness.
McConkey, a 9-yard gain. It's going to be 2nd down and 1. Ball at the middle of the field. Bennett is under the center. 2 wide receivers to the right. You're going to have James Cook as the back. Bennett hands it off to Cook. Cook up the middle, breaks a tackle, and he's got space right there. Nice little stutter step, and he is across the 25 into Michigan territory. Georgia's offense, they're humming right now.
Yeah, James Cook just with one cut there, able to get into space. And big play there for that Georgia offense. The Wolverines have been somewhat prone throughout the season to give up some explosive rushing plays.
Here we go, Bennett in the pocket. He's got space, or he's got time. Throws it out to Cook. Cook with space, and he makes it out to the 22-yard line.
Georgia getting the ball out of the hands of Stetson Bennett early. They're not a big vertical passing offense. They don't love to let Bennett drop back and just throw the ball down the field. They like to go sideline to sideline with their passes, get their elite talented players in space and let them do the work.
So 2nd down and 3 for the Bulldogs. They're on the Michigan 22-yard line. 6:14 left in the first quarter. Bennett in the gun. Michigan showing blitz. They do come with the blitz. They throw it out wide to McIntosh. McIntosh with the catch right there. Out with about a 1-yard gain. Tackled by R.J. Moten.
Kenny McIntosh, another one of these talented Georgia running backs. There's 3 of them that we're going to see a lot of today. That is Zamir White, Kenny McIntosh, and James Cook. And we've already seen each of them touch the ball so far. They'll rotate all 3 of these guys in and out, keep them fresh, keep them humming all game. They do the same thing with their tight ends. Haven't seen Fitzpatrick
Georgia with
yet.
the hurry-up offense, flicks it out to Zamir White. He's going to be really close to that first down. It looks like with the 2nd attempt, he does get the first down. Georgia now into the Michigan red zone.
And Zamir White able to just fall forward there, pick up those extra couple of yards that he needed, move the chains. Still no George Pickens so far from the Bulldogs.
They don't really need him right now the way this offense is clicking. But we are under the 5-minute mark in the first quarter. Bennett in the gun. McIntosh to his left. 2 wide receivers to the left, 1 to the right. 6 seconds left on the play clock. Handoff is to McIntosh, and McIntosh is going to throw it in the end zone, and it is caught for a Georgia touchdown.
Wow. Offensive coordinator Todd Monken there, pulling something deep out of the bag of tricks.
Adonai Mitchell with the 18-yard touchdown from McIntosh. Both teams really going into the bag of tricks early on. Georgia capitalizing on their 2nd drive in the first quarter.
Just a great play there. Great execution on the trick play by that Georgia offense. Great throw by McIntosh.
The field goal is up and through the uprights, and Georgia is out to an early 14-0 lead over the Michigan Wolverines. 4:41 left in the first quarter. We'd like to thank you for listening on 88.3 FM Ann Arbor and on YouTube.
And the Wolverines defense needs to figure something out here. Mike McDonald needs to change something up because Georgia has been moving the ball down the field with ease. They have no answers for the tight end Bowers. They have no answers for these explosive Georgia running backs. And this is, if Georgia was going to move the ball down the field like this is exactly how they were going to do it with their running backs and tight ends. I think the Wolverines need to get something going here on the offensive end to put the pressure, or to alleviate the pressure on the defense. Give them a chance to rest here, recover. You need a sustained drive from Cade McNamara in this Michigan offense.
So we're just in a media timeout right now. Just, you know, what are some X factors for the Wolverines? You know, they always ask, like, the bend don't break mentality. Is this Michigan offense? Like, what is Michigan's offense? They're the ground and pound team. And with a healthy Blake Corum, right now would be the perfect time to just have that explosive play from Corum or Donovan Edwards. Donovan Edwards has really shown over the past couple of seasons, or the past couple of games, that the freshman can play. He's a 5-star for a reason.
Absolutely. I think it's only a matter of time before we see J.J. McCarthy, the talented 5-star freshman, come in on some of his special packages. I'd expect to see him. Offensive coordinator Josh Gaddis has had some extra time to implement some more of these special packages for him, so I'd expect to see that. I'd also expect to see the ball in these receivers' hands out in space. Georgia's been doing a lot of these quick screens. The Wolverines need to try to do that as well. Get their talented players in space, because clearly they're not going to have a ton of success running the ball straight down the middle against these Georgia nose tackles.
Yeah. We also have to remind ourselves that this is Michigan's second drive, and this could be that drive where it feels like they need to score, because this Georgia offense, if you let Stenson Bennett get comfortable, the senior who is a walk-on at this program, if he gets comfortable, they're just going to pound it on Michigan.
Yeah, things could get out of control quickly if you're not able to stop the bleeding here. Don't even necessarily need a touchdown, just a sustained drive and some kind of points on the board. Georgia only giving up 7 points per game throughout the season.
Georgia Bulldogs already up to 103 yards through the air, 139 total. So the ball is on the tee. We're just moments away. Got A.J. Henning standing at his own goal line. Here we go. The kickoff is up, it's high, and it's going to sail into the end zone. The Wolverines are going to start out on their 25. Once again, first down and 10 for the Michigan Wolverines. And you look at this offensive line, they won the award for the best offensive line in the country. And they protect Cade McNamara. They keep him off his back. Cade McNamara has only been sacked 4 times this season, so they're able to keep him clean, but also they're able to keep those gaps open as we see J.J. McCarthy into the game for the first time. Haskins is the back right behind him. You got one wide receiver in motion, handoff to Haskins. Haskins up the middle, gets out to about the 30-yard line.
Yeah, the Wolverines not getting stuffed necessarily on these rushing attempts, just not quite hitting the bigger running plays that they're used to. And that's something Georgia does very, very well at stopping. That front 7, we can't talk about it enough. It's just so talented and so special.
So McCarthy is going to stay in the game. 2 wide receivers, 2 to his right, 1 to his left. Haskins is the back. The ball is on the 29-yard line. Second down and 6. McCarthy with the ball, hands it off to Haskins. Haskins up the middle, tries to go out to the outside, but cannot get the edge. Tackled by Walker.
Yeah, that play was just blown up by those Georgia defensive linemen. So big, so strong, so physical. Walker just mauling Vastardis, shoving him back into Haskins. Nothing going there.
So it's third down and 5 for the Wolverines. Ball on the 30-yard line. They're going to need 5 yards to get the first down. McNamara in the gun. 1 wide receiver to the left. McNamara receives the ball, drops back in the pocket. He's going to throw it out wide, and they got the first down. Ball thrown out to Dalen Baldwin. Michigan gets a fresh set of downs.
That's exactly what you needed from your veteran leader, Cade McNamara. Come out, convert on third down, make a solid throw out to the numbers. Great conversion by the Wolverines to keep this drive going. Cade able to hang in there and take that hit.
Yeah, and Cade, those last 2 games, he's shown that he can deal with adversity. And right now they're down 14-0. I believe this is their largest deficit in the whole season. So here we go. McNamara is going to go nowhere as he is sacked by really a trio of dogs.
Yeah,
Looks like it's going to be Robert Beal with the tackle. This offensive line is getting pushed off. You know, you have multiple defensive tackles, guards all coming through, and they get to McNamara.
Yeah, and that was really a coverage sack there by that Georgia secondary. Cade wanted to throw a post route. It wasn't there, and he was forced to hold the ball longer than he wanted to.
So now Michigan is 2nd and 16. McNamara in the gun. McNamara receives the ball. He's going to throw it out to Haskins, intended to Haskins, but it is tipped at.
Ruling on the field, an incomplete forward pass, 3rd down.
It's going to be tipped at the goal line. This Georgia defense is ferocious, and it's Walker who is able to tip it. Pass was intended for Haskins.
Yeah, tough blow there for that Michigan offense as they will stay out on the field here. Jim Harbaugh staying aggressive early.
So 3rd down and 16, McNamara in an empty gun. They need to get out to the 47. Here we go, McNamara, he's going to throw it out wide to Corum, and Corum's going to get tackled in the backfield, maybe gets about 2 yards on that one.
Nothing going there. Who else? N'Kobe Dean getting out there for that tackle. Just so quick, so aggressive.
Look at replay of this one. This offensive line is really struggling to keep the Georgia line off, and N'Kobe Dean, we're going to mention his name a lot tonight. One of the best linebackers in the country.
Yeah, N'Kobe Dean followed Corum all across the formation to make that play, showing his speed.
So Brad Robbins is out to punt it away. It's clean snap, and the punt is away. It's good high arcing punt. We got the fair catch signal at the 25-yard line. So Michigan 0 for 2 on their opening drives. Georgia Bulldogs leading 14-0.
Timeout on the field.
1:10 left in the first quarter.
Wolverine defense needs to get a stop here, obviously. There's not much else to say. I mean, Georgia has just been dominant in this game in all facets. Aiden Hutchinson, haven't said his name yet tonight. Some of these guys on this Michigan defensive front need to make a play, need to force a turnover.
Yeah, as we are in between a media timeout, let's send it down to Zach Linfield. Zach, what's going on down there?
Well, I think as of right now, Amer, it's a lot of physicality coming from one side of the football field, and it's Georgia. They're pushing Michigan's offensive line back a little bit. Michigan's offensive line is getting a push of about a quarter of a yard, and then right as the running back gets the ball, he runs out of time, and he's suffocated by the defensive line. And, of course, big Jordan Davis in the interior of Georgia is standing right there. But nonetheless, Michigan's defense and their defensive line is getting pushed back really bad right now by the Bulldogs, and that's exactly where their push is coming from. And the trickery, usually we'd see that from Michigan's end, but Georgia doing all they can right now to get a rematch with Alabama in the national championship game. And right with a 14-0 lead and having the ball, Michigan's got to get at least one stop, get them to 3rd down on their own side of the field and force a punt, because Michigan, we know that their offense has the ability to get moving, especially after struggling in a first quarter. Plenty of time left in this football game, 14-0, but the Wolverines got to get something going on the defensive side, maybe giving some momentum to the offense.
Yeah, thank you for that report, Zach. I mean, you couldn't put it in a better way. You know, Wolverines being suffocated right now by these Georgia Bulldogs that, you know, they feel like they're playing with a chip on their shoulder ever since losing in the SEC championship game.
And, yeah, it's just a brutal matchup so far for the Wolverines in both sides of the trenches. They struggled on both ends, like Zach mentioned. Need to get something going here. A lot of time left, though.
Plenty of time left. We are still in the first quarter. This Wolverine offense, they got here for a reason. Right now they're just struggling to get their footing. And, you know, Georgia Bulldogs, they came out firing on all cylinders. There's no other way to put it. So the Bulldogs offense is back out on the field. They're going to start on their own 25-yard line. 1:10 left in the first quarter. Georgia leading 14-0 over Michigan. So you got Bennett at quarterback. You're going to have Cook right behind him. One wide receiver split out to both sides of the field. Green light has been given, and we're underway. Bennett takes the snap, hands it off to Cook. Cook up the left, and makes it out to the 29-yard line. James Cook getting some yards.
Yeah, and didn't throw to him there, but number 1, George Pickens, on the field for the first time tonight, so he is available. Just hasn't really been needed so far.
I mean, when you're able to run the ball and you can throw it out to Bowers, not much you can do. So here we go. Bennett in the gun. He's going to send Cook to his right side this time. 2 wide receivers split out to both ends. Hutchinson is offsides right there. There is a flag, so it's a free play. And to throw it up the sideline, and it is caught but is ruled out of bounds.
On the field, the receiver was out of bounds.
So Georgia will get an extra 5 yards on that one, as it seems like Aiden Hutchinson jumped
offside,
early.
Number 97, defense at the neutral zone at the snap. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
So free 5 yards for the Georgia Bulldogs. It's going to be first down and 5.
Yeah,
or second and 1, correction.
All 3 tight ends out to the left there. Fitzpatrick, Bowers, and Darnell Washington.
So Bennett in the gun. Fakes the handoff, throws it out to Bowers, and Aiden Hutchinson's right there. Aiden Hutchinson making a big tackle right there for a loss on that play.
Hutchinson, obviously the most talented, the best player on this Wolverine defense. Need to get him going. You have to find a way to manufacture some pressure. Get Stetson Bennett off rhythm. Georgia's done a great job of keeping him upright, getting the ball out of his hands quick, and not really allowing
This is the end, first quarter. Timeout on the field.
So as you just heard our head referee, Scott Campbell, mention, that is the end of the first quarter. Georgia leads 14-0 over the Michigan Wolverines. But when we come back to the second quarter, it's going to be 3rd down and 3. So, you know, Aiden Hutchinson obviously watched film on that play, because you had the 3 wide receivers to the left of Bennett. They throw it out to Bowers, and Aiden Hutchinson was right there to meet him.
Yeah, they love getting Bowers the ball on these bubble screens, and he's able to, and they saw that on film, obviously. Mike McDonald and Aiden Hutchinson, this defensive unit, they watched a lot of film on Georgia and saw that, so able to quickly get out and negate that play.
Yeah, so as we are in between quarters, let's do another check-in with Zach. And Zach, it's 3rd down and 3. Does this feel like a very crucial play for the Wolverines to stop Georgia?
Oh, definitely. And now the field is going to switch, so Georgia's going to be hearing the Wolverine faithful on the far side of the field in their ear. And I'll go back to that 2nd down play, because obviously Hutchinson had to do something to make up for the mental mistake that he made. And that's not like Aiden. A lot of us know that Aiden's not very penalized, never holds, never puts hands to the face, really never jumps off sides, although aggressive. He jumps the snap count a lot, but a lot of time this year he's gotten relatively lucky, we should say, when it comes to jumping the snap count. However, on that last play, he read that play very well, and they were ready for that all week long, because they know Brock Bowers and that trio of tight ends, they like to run that screen play. I mean, why not put 2 bigger bodies rather than wide receivers out there and then let your biggest tight end rumble down the field and try to pick up some yardage. But if you want a guy on one of those bigger tight ends, Aiden Hutchinson is usually your best bet to roll him down, and that's exactly what happened for a loss of 2. But this is, I mean, obviously for Michigan's terms, this is the biggest play of the game so far, and we'll say that continuously throughout. But this 3rd down and 3, they have to get a stop.
It's a heavyweight fight. You know, these two teams, they're the best in their conferences, and you know they're gonna throw punches at each other. It's how do you respond with these punches? And right now in that first quarter, Georgia, they're on the attack. They're knocking Michigan out right now. Can the Wolverines get up? And really, who do we look to on this Wolverines? Is it the defense or is the offense? Like, who's that one guy that can rally his team together and be like, guys, we still got 3 quarters to play?
Well, right now it's got to be Josh Ross. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson's doing all that he can on the edge, but these quick throws for Stetson Bennett has been very successful. But Josh Ross, the captain in the middle, they have to swarm to the ball better than they have been. As Dax Hill is on the field, they have to be good in run protection because they could try to expose the interior D-line on this 3rd and 3.
Thank you for that, Zach, as we are back and the second quarter is about to be underway. It's going to be a 3rd down and 3, ball on the 32-yard line. Georgia needs to get out to the 35 for a 1st down. Bennett is in the gun. You got 2 wide receivers to his left, 1 to his right. Cook is the back.
They've gone to the ground on most of the 3rd and short so far.
Hands it off to Cook. Actually, it's an RPO. They throw it out to a wide receiver, and it's caught for a 1st down. George Pickens.
And there he is. First time we've said his name tonight with a catch. Most talented receiver for Georgia, making a big play.
A gain of 6 yards, but Georgia trying to go with the hurry-up offense. They throw it out to Washington. Washington cannot come down with it. Hawkins on the tackle, but Brad Hawkins seems to be shaken up, and he is laying on the ground.
Timeout for an injured defensive player.
And that is a big, big boy that Brad Hawkins was going up to hit there at the point of the catch. Darnell Washington standing at 6'7".
Timeout on the field.
Weighing in at 265 pounds. That's a lot of man that you're hitting in the middle of the field.
And you can look at these Georgia tight ends, and Brock Bowers is probably the smallest one in size and weight, really. He's 6'4", 230. You got Fitzpatrick, 6'7", 250, and then Darnell Washington, the biggest one of all, 6'7", 265. And, you know, I go back to the play in the SEC championship game where Bennett really just lobs it up to Washington, and Washington goes up and gets it. I mean, when you're 6'7", 265, you can almost do whatever you want.
Yeah. In the SEC championship game, that play, just there's nothing you can do when the guy you're guarding is 7 inches taller than you, 8 inches taller than you. When the ball's at the highest point, there's not a lot you can do there. And credit to Georgia for going out and recruiting these guys and being able to utilize their talent.
So Hawkins is up, walking gingerly to the sidelines, goes straight to the bench, he is seeing medical attention. It seems like he is okay. Just maybe got the wind knocked out of him.
This is a big loss for the Wolverines if he's not able to return to play rather quickly. One of the veterans of this back end of the defense. Graduate senior for the Wolverines under his last year of eligibility.
So maybe the biggest story during this week was Daxton Hill and would he be here or not. And I think one way to make his presence known and to let everybody know he is here in Miami would to have an interception. You know, Dax Hill, he has 2 interceptions this season and half a sack. So if you can get in that stat book right now and get that interception to let everybody know he is in Miami, because the way Harbaugh was talking about it, they kept it pretty quiet about whether Dax would be here. Was he in Miami? Was he not? Perfect time to let his presence be heard.
Absolutely. The Wolverines need to force a turnover here. If they're not able to get a stop, obviously a turnover is ideal. Georgia, the easiest way to beat them when you're an underdog especially, force turnovers. When Georgia is losing the turnover battle by 2 or more, they've really struggled in recent years.
So the ball is on the Georgia 41. It's going to be 2nd down and 10. Georgia leading 14-0 over Michigan, scoring on their 2 previous drives. Bennett is in the gun. 2 wide receivers to his left, 2 to his right. Signals a wide receiver in. Bennett comes. Here comes the pressure by Dax. Able to get it away, and it's caught, and it's going to be taken out right around that 1st down marker. Looks like it was Kieris Johnson with the catch.
Yeah, just a yard short there. Good second effort.
So really close, but Georgia's going to go up with the hurry-up offense. Michigan's really struggled with that. Bennett remains in the gun, receives the ball, hands it off to the back, and they got that 1st down right there and more. And then Dax Till makes the tackle on McIntosh.
Yeah, Georgia's really love to go to the ground game on these 3rd and shorts. I think that's the 3rd time where they've ran a kind of a trap play going on the ground on 3rd and short. They're liking the matchup they have up front with their offensive line against the Michigan defensive line.
So we mentioned Aiden Hutchinson's name already. How about David Ojabo? You know, with the presence of Hutchinson, Ojabo stepped up pretty big. But Bennett under the gun, fakes the handoff. He's scrambling for yardage right there. Breaks the tackle. He's got more. He's got a 1st down. Stutter step right there into past the 30-yard line. Stenson Bennett with the quarterback keeper.
Yeah, and this is the main reason that the Bulldog coaching staff, Kirby Smart, Todd Monken, has chosen Stetson Bennett over JT Daniels, that added mobility that he provides.
Georgia going with the hurry-up offense. They throw it out to Zamir White. Zamir White with the catch, breaks it out to the edge. He's going to be tackled by Josh Ross.
Josh Ross has struggled at times going sideline to sideline. These Georgia players are very, very quick, and the Michigan linebackers need to keep up with that speed if they want to have any kind of chance in this game.
So gain of 1 for White. It's going to be 2nd down and 9. Ball on the 26. They're knocking on the door of the red zone. You know, I would expect Bennett to go to the air in this one. But he's in the gun. 2 wide receivers split out to both ends. 8 seconds left on the play clock. Michigan blitzes 4. Bennett with a clean pocket. He goes up through the air. Pass intended for Fitzpatrick, but it sails over. Michigan rushing 4. And that's what they got to do if they want to get back into this one, because Stenson Bennett, when he is under pressure, really struggles. And so far, he's had a clean pocket, and his running backs, they're running it up the ground. They're pounding it on the ground.
Yeah, maybe a little miscommunication there by Stetson Bennett and Fitzpatrick. Unable to connect on that one, but that's exactly it. The Wolverines need to create pressure, need to wreak havoc on this offensive line and force Bennett to make some plays unscripted.
3rd down and 9. Bennett in the gun. Bennett receives the ball, throws it out wide, intended for Fitzpatrick. He muffs it up, but it looks like they're going to call it like he caught it, but it's going to be short of the 1st down, and Georgia's going to trot out their field goal unit.
Bending, not breaking there for the Wolverines. So we get a second look at that ball, that throw. That was not completed.
So Jack Podlinski on to kick for the Georgia Bulldogs, 81.8%. It's going to be a 43-yard attempt. Kick is up, and it is good as Georgia extends their lead to 17. But regardless of that, you know, that's pretty big to keep Georgia out of the end zone. You know,
absolutely there. That's a win if you're the Michigan defense. You hold them outside of the end zone, slow the bleeding at least, not stopping the bleeding, but you're slowing it. But the offense needs to get something going here. You can't win the game if you don't put up points.
Through a quarter and some change, we've obviously seen that Georgia has made their presence heard. And what Michigan needs to do right now on this 3rd attempt, this 3rd drive that they have, is get points. Whether it's a field goal or whether it's a touchdown, you have to get some points. You gotta get some momentum, some belief behind your players, and you know, keep this margin as small as possible and get to the locker room with the smallest deficit, make your halftime adjustments. You know, Coach Harbaugh, Coach of the Year this year, and all his staff, they can make the changes that are necessary in halftime. But right now what they need to do is keep Georgia out of the end zone, and they got to put points up. It sounds so cliche.
It does.
But that's the one thing that they're struggling, and that's what they got to do. Is this drive is very important. You gotta come away with some points.
Well, it sounds so simple. Just go score on the #1 defense in the country that was giving up just under 7 points a game in the regular season. It really is a tall task. Alabama made it look so easy in that SEC championship game. But they've been the outlier. Everyone else Georgia's faced this year has had a really difficult time putting up points.
But if you remember, Georgia got out to an early lead. I believe it was 10 or 14.
10-0, yes.
10-0, right? So they were the best team in the country all season for a reason. Bama made those changes that were necessary. So only being down 17, while it is a bigger margin than what Bama was down by, Michigan, they're still in it. I mean, yeah, they don't have a Heisman quarterback, but the duo of McNamara and McCarthy, they can do it.
Obviously, a lot of time left in this game for the Wolverines to get going. They just need to start now. This is not a team that's necessarily built to throw, and come back from big deficits. So you need to start chipping away at this early, sooner rather than later, if you want to have a chance later in this game. Because come the fourth quarter, if you're down 2 or 3 scores, it's not going to be easy to simply rattle off consecutive quick scoring drives against this Georgia defense. It's just not something that's going to happen.
Not much you can say to that one.
Yeah, it really sounds so simple, but in practice, in reality, it's much more difficult.
So A.J. Henning is back at his own goal line, waiting to receive the kickoff. 12:26 left in the second quarter. Kick is up, and it is a high booming one, and it's going to sail into the end zone. Wolverines are going to start out on the 25-yard line.
Look for the Wolverines to get some of their receivers involved. I'd look for Andrell Anthony. Made a lot of big plays in the Michigan State game, was explosive in that game. I'd love to see him out on the field for the Wolverines. They have a number of smaller, shiftier receivers that they can throw in and out. Roman Wilson, Mike Sandersill. All these guys can make plays.
So here we go. McNamara in the gun. Corum is the back to his right. 2 wide receivers to the left, 1 to the right. Handoff is to Corum. Corum breaks out to the edge but cannot get back to the line of scrimmage. He's brought down by big old number 97, Jordan Davis.
And Jordan Davis ran across the where he was lined up, able to track down Blake Corum in the backfield. That's just ridiculous for a man at that size to be able to track down Blake Corum.
So now Donovan Edwards in at running back. McNamara in the gun. 3 wide receivers to the right of McNamara. Second down and 11. McNamara drops back, looks to his right, throws it out to a receiver, gets it, and it's caught, and it's Mike Sandersill, who continues running. Did not believe he was ruled down on that one.
Yeah, Sandersill looking to create a big play, maybe showing off some awareness, but the officials deem him down.
You can't blame him. I mean, until you hear that whistle, play until you hear that whistle is what they hear. But Michigan once again finding themselves in a third down, but this time 3rd and 1. Handed off to Haskins. Haskins to the right, and he's got that first down and a couple extra yards for padding.
Yeah, great hole there by the right side of that Michigan offensive line. Just enough for Haskins to slip through and fall forward for a few extra yards, move the chains, keep that offense on the field, let the defense rest up.
So now J.J. McCarthy is in at quarterback. 3 wide receivers to the left. Corum is the back. Sainer still in motion, handed off to Corum. RPO right there. McCarthy keeps it, but he cannot go anywhere as he is sacked in the backfield by Nolan Smith.
Nolan Smith, former #1 overall recruit in the country. 5-star, another one of these many 5-stars on the Georgia defense.
They're dripping with talent everywhere.
Yeah, they're just loaded at all positions, all across the board.
Yeah, Kirby Smart in his 6th season at Georgia, and he's got a culture established there. So it's 2nd down and 9, ball on the Michigan 39-yard line. McNamara in the gun, 2 wide receivers split out to both ends. 9 left on the play clock. McNamara in the pocket, drops back, good clean pocket. He's going to go deep. He goes over top for Roman Wilson, and it's caught. Roman Wilson into Georgia territory.
Great throw there by Cade McNamara. Pressure was coming, just ate the hit, and delivers an absolute dime down the sideline to Roman Wilson. One of these receivers stepping up, making a big play, and shout out to the starting quarterback, Cade McNamara, able to take that hit and still deliver a strike.
Darion Kendrick saving Georgia and keeping Michigan out of the end zone. Otherwise, Roman Wilson is in for the score. But Michigan now moving the ball there in the red zone for the first time in this game. 1st down and 10. McNamara in the gun. Haskins is the back to his right. 4 seconds left on the play clock. They fake the handoff to both their receivers, but McNamara is met by 2 Bulldogs, and he's tackled by Nakobe Dean.
Who else? Who else would it be? A little too much going on too much extracurriculars going on in the backfield there for the Wolverines. Georgia sees right through it, and Nakobe Dean just goes straight toward the quarterback.
So 2nd down and 18, a loss of 8 on that one. Ball on the 27. McNamara in the gun, signals Edwards into motion. McNamara's going to have to get rid of it. Steps up through the pocket. He gets some yards out there, but makes it out just to maybe a yard or 2 past the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, they wanted that swing pass out to Donovan Edwards. It wasn't there. Cade McNamara not quite sure where to go with the football. Everything's covered. Able to tuck it and navigate forward for a few extra yards. But that Georgia defense is just so stingy, so tough.
So Michigan in a 3rd down and long, 16 to be exact. Ball on the 25. 8:14 left in the 2nd quarter. Michigan electing to go with the empty gun. 3 wide receivers to the left of McNamara, 2 to the right. 4 left on the play clock. McNamara gets the ball off, good clean pocket, throws it out wide, but it's going to be short of the 1st down and is caught by Eric All.
Is this something the Wolverines consider going for the touchdown?
They're going to send out that field goal unit, and you can't blame them. You know, Georgia is up 17-0. You have yet to score. You had a good drive right there. You want to come away with points, and they're going to send out the reliable kicker of Jake Moody, who is 22 for 24 this season. It's going to be a 36-yard attempt.
Like this call by Harbaugh. Take your points. Get your offense some kind of momentum.
Moody's going to kick it from the right hash. Good, clean snap. Kick is up and through the uprights. Michigan with their first points of the game, cutting the Georgia lead down to 14.
Jake Moody, Lou Groza Award winner this season for best kicker in the country. That's just what he does. He puts that football through those 2 yellow uprights.
As we are in a media timeout, let's check in with Zach and talk about that last possession by the Wolverines. So, Zach, what changed on that drive?
Well, Michigan still had a lot of success by changing their play at the line of scrimmage. They've done that a lot today, and by mixing things up, Jordan Davis in the middle might get a little confused because he's in there for run packages. And Michigan, you're not going to run the ball all that well on Georgia. That's obvious. A lot of teams have figured that out this season. They have the 3rd best rushing defense in the country. But I'm sure a big facet for Georgia this game today would be to shut out Michigan, and at least Michigan's on the board here with a 7-3 score. Maybe this is some kind of momentum swing. You get a stop, you force them for 3 points. Michigan gets 3 of their own. Who knows? You get a stop here, you march down the field, score a touchdown, you go into the second half. All of a sudden, it's a 17-10 game, and you get the ball to begin the second half. Michigan's far from out of this football game.
Oh, yeah.
It's nowhere near over, but Michigan's just going to need a lot better motivation on defense to get off the field because the offense is somewhat doing their job besides the offensive line in the passing game so far, because there's a lot of pressure on Cade McNamara, and he hasn't necessarily seen that at all this year.
Yeah, this heavyweight fight between these two blue blood programs is going to go the distance. And we'll see right now how Michigan's defense responds with their offense, doing a good drive, getting some points, taking some time off the clock, giving them time to kind of, recoup, like kind of regroup, figure it out, because Georgia came out firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, and like I mentioned before the game, in the pregame, these two teams are very similar. Of course, they play a little bit different because SEC ball and Big Ten ball are not very interchangeable. However, when these two teams take the field, there's one thing on their mind usually, and that's run the ball and set up the deeper plays. We saw Michigan just do that with Roman Wilson. He was a shoestring away from getting away for 6 points. So when it comes to the Wolverines and the Bulldogs here, they play very similar, but just different enough that it's noticeable. In Georgia right now, they're just taking advantage of the line of scrimmage, and that's how they're beating the Wolverines.
You mentioned Josh Ross as the guy that we look to on the defense. Are you sticking with Josh Ross, or is it another player that you think could come up big on this
I'm
drive?
still sticking to Josh Ross and Junior Colson in the middle, maybe even to Kai-Hill Green as well, because they're calling these checkouts. You'll see Aiden Hutchinson point a lot if you're watching on the TV. They're pointing out these plays. They know the screens are coming, but as of right now, Georgia's just playing tougher than Michigan is at the line of scrimmage.
Thank you for that report from the field, Zach. Just throwing it out there, could we see an onside kick right here? What do you think, Kelin?
I think it's a little bit too early.
There was a little bit of confusion right there. Michigan Wolverines kind of switching it up, and Georgia kind of confused, but I don't expect it.
Georgia bringing up a couple players a little bit closer. Maybe they're sensing something.
Yeah, Jake Moody has it on the tee, and he's going to send it deep, and it's going to go into the end zone for a fair catch, and the Georgia Bulldogs will start out on the 25-yard line.
And like Zach mentioned, these linebackers of Michigan, they need to get out there and make these tackles in space, get out on these screens. They need to go sideline to sideline, because that's what Georgia is trying to do. They're trying to make these players run all across the field and cover every inch of grass here in Hard Rock Stadium.
So the Bulldogs are going to start out on their 25. Bennett in the gun. 3 wide receivers to his left, 1 to his right. 9 seconds left on the play clock. Bennett in the pocket. Short pass to Bowers. Bowers is met by R.J. Moore.
Yeah, Brock Bowers just settling down in that zone there. Able to haul in that one. Just sit down, pick up 7 yards. Someone needs to make a play here. Wolverines need a defensive score, a special team score, something to really spark the momentum on their side and be a difference maker in this game.
So 2nd down and 4, 6:40 left in the first half. Bennett is in the gun, hands it off to his running back, and he gets about a yard on that play. So it's going to be a 3rd down for Georgia. We've said it a couple times before. We'll say it again. Michigan Wolverines need to stop right here.
Wolverines have gotten them to 3rd down on a couple different possessions here. Just hasn't been able to stop them on 3rd down other than the last drive inside.
Wolverines haven't been in this position. This is their largest deficit of the season. Prior to this, it was only 4 points. So Wolverines were knocked down. Now can they get up? So Bennett is going to go in the empty shot, in the empty backfield. 7 seconds left on the play clock. Bennett drops back. He's going to go deep. He's got a man, and it's caught, and it's Cook, and he's taken down inside the 20-yard line. James Cook, what a throw by Bennett.
Stetson Bennett just hanging in the pocket there. Great protection from the offensive line. The Wolverines tried to have a stunt there, bringing Hutchinson in the middle, looping Ojabo around. But offensive line for Georgia holds strong, and just an absolute strike from Stetson Bennett.
They go quick, and they go over top right there. No flags. Surprisingly, Kirby Smart thought he saw something different, running up the sideline, looking for a flag, but there is not one to be given.
Ramon Green on the coverage there. Able to get away with that one. A lot of touching, a lot of grabbing, but
he definitely got away with one right there.
no call from the official.
Mikhail Green got a lot of jersey right there. He had his left hand basically inside of Burton's jersey. Georgia fans not happy with that call. But Bennett under the gun, trying to go quick right here. They hand it off to Cook. Cook's got blockers, shakes the tackle, but Michigan has 3 players right there to meet him. Mikhail Green right there.
Making the play. Daxton Hill also over there. Wolverines need to hold here. A touchdown would be devastating after your offense is able to finally move down the field, put up some points, although it be a field goal, get something on the board. Then you give up a long 3rd down conversion to put Georgia inside the red zone.
So another 3rd down, but this time it's 3rd down and 11. Ball on the Michigan 16. 7 seconds left on the play clock. Bennett with the ball, drops back in the pocket, right across the middle, and it's caught by his tight end, but short of the 1st down, taken down right around the 10-yard line.
Yeah, McConkey there, they brought him in motion on a slant, trying to free up some space, but Daxton Hill said no, sir. Stuck right with him, able to make the tackle on the catch.
So Kirby Smart is going to send out his special teams to try to get the field goal and get it back up to that 17-point lead. So Michigan defense, the bend, don't break mentality. It's going to be a 29-yard attempt.
Georgia's been pretty solid on field goals this season.
Up and through the uprights, and Georgia back out on top by 17 with a score of 20-3, 3:50 left in the first half.
Wolverines need some kind of explosive play here on offense. Had that last one to Roman Wilson. The running game is the key for this Wolverine offense, and that key has not been found so far. Georgia's hitting it underneath the mat, throwing it into the ocean. They've done something to stop the Wolverines' ground attack like they've done to every team they faced this season.
It was the #1 rush defense going up against the high-power Michigan run offense, and so far the defense is coming up strong for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, and that interior defensive line, the Wolverines just haven't even been attacking at all. When they've been running the football, it's been a lot of plays to the outside, a lot of stretches, attacking the exterior of the Georgia defense, trying to attack the sidelines, get to the edge, rather than going right at that heart of the Georgia defense. But players like Nakobe Dean have been able to use their speed, go sideline to sideline, and neutralize that kind of running scheme as well. This game's going to come down to, can Cade McNamara make the necessary plays? Can he elevate this Wolverine offense to another level? And that was really one of the big question marks with Michigan. Is Cade McNamara has been a solid player all year. He's been great at times. But is he that difference maker that you need at quarterback to win a national championship? We've seen recent national championship winning quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Mac Jones, Deshaun Watson, players that have been difference makers, Tua Tagovailoa, guys that go on to the next level and are impact players at the next level. Is Cade McNamara that kind of guy? And a lot of people have thought no. He's played much better than expected this season, but it is really a ceiling on this Wolverine offense and this Wolverine team that is tough when you're playing against a Georgia and Alabama, the most elite of the elite in the country.
So we'll go back to the running backs, and Hassan Haskins has 20 touchdowns this season, has yet to find the end zone. He only has 4 carries for a total of 12 yards.
That is not the Michigan offense. That is not the Hassan Haskins that we've seen throughout this season. Need to get your workhorse going.
So A.J. Henning is standing at his own goal line, waiting for the green light from the media, or come back from the media timeout. The Wolverines were able to get some points. Now they need a touchdown.
Yeah, absolutely. A.J. Henning need maybe something in special teams. You see him make a play. Somebody needs to give this team a spark.
Kick is up, and it's going to sail through the end zone again. So it's going to be first down and 10 for the Wolverines on their own 25-yard line.
Expect to see some more J.J. McCarthy here. Try to confuse that Georgia defense at some point on this drive. But I don't see them lining the ball up with a power I set and just running the ball down the middle. They haven't done that much this game. I think we're going to continue to see a lot of receivers split out wide.
McNamara in the gun, hands it off to Haskins. Haskins out to the right, breaks the tackle, but cannot go anywhere as he is met.
Devontae Wyatt sealing up that edge there. Another one of these elite defensive linemen for the Georgia Bulldogs.
So second down and 10, no gain on that play.
I think if you're Michigan, you need to throw in more of Donovan Edwards, more of Blake Corum, your more dynamic backs.
They've been successful through the air. Let's see if they go through the air on this one. McNamara in the pocket, throws it out to Henning. Henning able to break a couple of tackles, but it's still going to be a third down and long for the Wolverines.
Nakobe Dean just absolutely owning that middle of the field. Sniffs that play out and able to stop Henning for a gain of 1. Got him right at the line. I think if you're Michigan, you need to show more of Edwards and Corum. Your better receiving backs, let them get into space, run them out of the backfield, split them out wide, do something, because you can't run straight down this Georgia defense.
So it's a third down and 8. Ball on the 27. McNamara in the gun. 3 wide receivers to the right. Haskins is the back. McNamara drops. Pressure comes. He alleviates the pressure, but just as soon as he breaks away, Nolan Smith comes through and tackles him from behind.
There are just so many guys on this Georgia defense that are so talented, and they're always coming. Once you get away from one, they're so quick that there's another guy right on your tail. McNamara's finding that out the hard way. That's not the first time tonight that he's been tracked down from behind. And if you're this Michigan defense, you're thinking, we're already going back out onto the field? I mean, that was just about a minute of game time used up by the offense. Georgia's going to have another chance to go down here and score.
Yeah, they have the firepower. They have plenty of time. They've shown that they can score with the little amount of time. Just, as soon as you think McNamara is going to run away, the Georgia players are there. And in that case, it was Smith, and he brings him down. I think they're too far in their own side to do any trickeries. Michigan, they've shown that they're not afraid.
Jim Harbaugh has been, throughout the season shown that he's willing to take some risks, but on the biggest stage the Wolverines have been on so far this season, back deep in their own territory.
So Brad Robbins standing at his own 14-yard line, gets the kick away barely. The Georgia players were there. McIntosh signals for the fair catch.
And wow, that Michigan faithful in the stadium and watching on TV all held their breath there as Georgia was coming at Robbins. Nearly got home, and that would have been a devastating blow on special teams. Likely would have been a scoop and score for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, Brad Robbins barely getting that one away. Barely. But, he almost ran into the kicker as well.
Great awareness, though, not to. It's great coaching. Georgia just been the more physical team all day.
So the Bulldogs are going to start out on their own 31. Bennett in the empty pocket. Quick throw out to the outside. It's caught by McIntosh, and McIntosh is not going to be taken down. He's going to get more yards with that second attempt. Gets the first down. McIntosh showing off the strength.
And I think these Wolverine defenders are maybe in a little bit of shock. of just how explosive this Georgia offense has been. McIntosh refusing to go down there. They've just been so physical. That's something Kirby Smart has preached all season.
So a fresh set of downs for the Bulldogs. Now, the ball is all the way out to the 43 now. Bennett in the gun. He's going to go over the top. Sails. It really wasn't a catchable ball at all right there. Ball intended for Adonai Mitchell.
Yeah, really nothing going there for Georgia. Looked like a little bit of confusion from the snap there as Bennett just kind of threw that one along the sideline.
And this is the 5th drive by the Georgia Bulldogs. They've scored on the previous 4, the first 2 resulting in touchdowns, and the last 2 field goals. So 2nd down and 10. Bennett in the gun. 3 wide receivers to his right, 1 to the left. Drops back. Here comes pressure. Just barely gets it away, but it's short, and it's caught. And he's into the end zone. A Georgia touchdown. Jamari Burton.
And Vincent Gray just got a little bit lost there with the ball in the air. Burton able to just run past him at the end there, run right under that pass. Beautiful throw from Stetson Bennett, who has been on today.
A 57-yard touchdown pass, Bennett to Burton.
And this is a Georgia team that is just clicking on all cylinders. They are playing angry. They really want that rematch with Alabama.
They're playing with a chip on their shoulder, and they've showed it so far. As they add the extra point, and the Georgia Bulldogs now lead 27-3, 1:38 left in the half. And you go back to that play right there. Bennett dropping back in the pocket. Michigan bringing the pressure. Seems like Mozzie Smith got close, but he gets it away, and Vincent Gray just misreading the throw. And when he initially stopped, it looked like Stetson Bennett was going to – it looks like it was going to be short for the wide receiver, but Burton following it, and it was on the money and just walks into the end zone. Stetson Bennett really dancing, having a fun time out on the field.
Yeah, Burton just kind of stopped, slowed up on his route, then kept going. And Gray, just a second behind, got lost on that little stutter step there. And Burton burns him for 6.
Stetson Bennett now 16 for 21, 234 yards, 2 touchdowns, completing 76% of his throws.
This is not what I was expecting from Stetson Bennett. And if you're a Georgia fan, you are thrilled from this performance from your starting quarterback. You want this team to rally behind him, show confidence in him. That coaching staff has shown confidence in him. He's playing one heck of a ball game.
So A.J. Henning standing at his own goal line. It's a good kick, and it's going to sail into the end zone again. Michigan will start out on their own 25. 1st and 10 for the Wolverines. 1:38 left in the half.
Something I mentioned a little bit earlier, that last offensive possession only lasting about a minute. That gives the ball back to Georgia and allows them to have that scoring drive. If your offense can have a sustained drive, that eliminates some of that possibility for Georgia to just get the ball back and go score again. But Michigan needs to put some points up to end the half here, get something positive going into the break.
So 2 wide receivers split out to both sides of McNamara. Corum is the back. McNamara drops back. Georgia rushes for, but it's misread, and it's intercepted by the Georgia Bulldogs. And he's going to get tackled by Mike Sainristil at the 50-yard line. Just a bunch of miscommunication on both sides of the Wolverines right there.
And that was just, I'm not really sure what happened there. Throw along the sideline.
Darion Kendrick coming up with the interception.
Roman Wilson got held up there. It looked like there should have been pass interference, just an egregious no call, as Wilson was being grabbed on the jersey, pushed out of bounds. Nothing he could have done.
Really surprised that there was no flag on the play. But
the officials
this Big 12 officiating crew has shown that they will allow contact, because Nakai Hill Green had a handful of a Georgia jersey. They let it go. They let it play.
And this play is under further review. Looked like Kendrick also had stepped out of bounds before picking off that pass. So that's something they might be looking at as well. Illegal touching since he was out of bounds.
Let's send it down to Zach. Let's see what Zach saw down on the field.
Well, while he was in coverage on the sideline, not only did he have a hand on the outside part of Roman Wilson's jersey, but he was the first one to step out, and he was the first one to touch the ball after going out of bounds. So that would make it not an interception. Michigan should retain possession here. However, that's a pretty atrocious no call on the sideline. We don't want to complain about the referees right now down the score that we're down, but it should not count as an interception. That's the last thing that Michigan needs, is to go down by a further deficit to end this half.
Yeah, I was honestly shocked that there was never. I was just waiting for a whistle to be blown after seeing all the contact along the sideline there. I thought something had happened. The play was dead. Maybe they were blocking downfield, because that was just an egregious amount of contact for there to be no flag thrown, no whistle blown.
But if the referees are going to call it for one team, that's the one thing is, like, you don't want to – if the referees set a standard, you play to how the referees are calling this game. So if they're going to allow contact –
But that was more than contact.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was shoving – he pushed Roman Wilson
it was
out
egregious.
of bounds. He had a whole hand on his the jersey on his shoulder and was just absolutely manhandling him in a very illegal way.
They could potentially be reviewing a targeting play right here. So after the interception, Roman Wilson, following the play, gets hit in the head. So they could potentially be reviewing a targeting call as well.
Yeah, and another egregious hit on Roman Wilson.
So Christopher Smith was the one on the tackle.
During the return, personal foul, targeting number 29, return team. That 15-yard penalty will be enforced from the end of the run. Number 29 has been disqualified.
So as you just heard from Scott Campbell, ruling on the field stands as an interception, but Christopher Smith is disqualified for targeting, and I didn't even see that live, but it's definitely a targeting, as Roman Wilson was following the play, and Smith just comes through with the crown of his helmet and hits Wilson right in the head right there. But Harbaugh not happy with the call, looking for a little bit of extra explanation, and Kirby Smart as well, trying to see what the call was on Smith there.
Yeah, this truly is one of the worst no-call pass interferences I have ever seen. Just watching it live, it was so shocking that there was nothing thrown. Obviously, there's a fine line between letting him play out and hand fighting and touching. And
so maybe what happened was, both of them, how they were fighting, like they went out of bounds, not on their own power. That's the only way that I would see them call it that way.
Yeah, but it looked like Kendrick forced Roman Wilson out of bounds and maybe carried himself out too. He clearly planted his foot out of bounds before catching that ball. Just a weird series of events there.
As we see McNamara on the sidelines just shaking his head, displeased with the performance so far. McNamara is 8 for 13, 72 yards, and 2 interceptions. Or 1 interception. So 1:28 left in the half. Georgia's going to start out on their 36-yard line after the targeting play. The handoff is to the back, and he gets a couple of extra yards on that one, a gain of 8. Zamir White with the carry.
Yeah, Georgia's just been punishing the Wolverine front all day. Just out-physicaling them. Kirby Smart, that's one of his big keys. We're always going to out-physical the other team, and that's exactly what they're doing to this Michigan front today.
Georgia in no rush right now. 55 seconds left on the clock. They hand it off to the back, and it's Zamir White. He's going to get stopped short of the first down right there. Does Harbaugh elect to use his timeout? Doesn't seem like he's going to, so 40 seconds left in the half. 32 seconds left on the play clock.
if I'm Jim Harbaugh, I'm just trying to get out of this half as soon as I can. This was about as bad as it could go. You don't want to stop that clock. You want to get into the locker room and regroup.
This is going to be 3rd down and 2 for the Georgia Bulldogs. 20 seconds left until halftime. Bennett is under center. They hand it off to White. White gets the 1st down and more and into Michigan territory. Georgia, no rush on this one. Michigan did defer, so they will get the ball to start the second half. But Georgia might get one more playoff right here. Bennett goes in the gun. Got wide receivers split out to both sides. They throw it out to the sideline intended for Zamir White. But that is going to do it for the first half. Georgia going to the locker room up 24 points over the Michigan Wolverines. And Kelin, as you mentioned previously, that may have been not a good half at all for the Michigan Wolverines, as Kirby Smart is fired up on this sideline, going right over to Stetson Bennett, his quarterback. And all week it was like, can Stetson Bennett take this team to the next level, or do they go with Daniels? Kirby Smart believing in his quarterback, Stetson Bennett, sticking with him. But now Michigan Wolverines, their biggest deficit this season was 4 points. They find themselves down by 24.
Obviously not ideal if you're in that Wolverine locker room right now. This is not something you faced yet this season, and not something you were really expecting to face. Obviously, no one expects to be down 24 points in a game. But you have the talent to regroup here. Your quarterback, Cade McNamara, needs to stay focused and stay ready to go in the second half. You need to come out and you need to have a big play. You need to strike. You need to show Georgia that you're not quitting yet and that there's still a whole half of football left. But it's got to be a lot of offense early and often for the Wolverines if they want to have any chance in this one.
So as the teams are heading to the locker room, let's do a check-in with Zach. And Zach, as you see Coach Harbaugh going to the locker room, just try to put yourself in Coach Harbaugh's head and what's going through his mind right now.
Well, I'm sure he's saying for both sides of the ball that they're just not playing motivated enough. And on the offensive end, we all know he's an offense guy. The quarterback play hasn't been great from Cade. He's not really maneuvering in the pocket the way that we're used to seeing him, although he does have the longest run of his career and on the season here today. But on the defensive end, that's obviously where the issues are coming. They're being outmanned, outpunished, and the physical domination of Georgia on the offensive end right now is a difference in this game. And throughout the week, I work with the team, so I'm not allowed to say too much about the game plan and all that, but I knew personally this was going to come down to the play of Stetson Bennett, and right now he's showing that he is one of the better quarterbacks in the country, regardless of his past as a walk-on. But Stetson Bennett has been the difference in this game, and Vincent Gray, if you're playing defense and you're along that sideline, you just got to stick to the hip of that receiver because he was in very good position that whole play, and he probably should have came away with an interception, but he chopped his feet, got a little complacent, and Georgia got a touchdown that they probably shouldn't have had.
Now, you mentioned the play of Stetson Bennett. Would you give credit to Stetson Bennett playing his A game, or is Michigan just not up to the task right now?
I'd say it's a little bit of both because Stetson Bennett's getting a lot of help from his offensive line. Michigan is so used to getting a big rush on the quarterback, and right now their tackles are playing their hearts out because Alabama was able to get to the quarterback with ease in the SEC championship game, and that's a big reason why Georgia came away without a conference championship. But people have to remember, Stetson Bennett only didn't start 2 games this year because JT Daniels was the starter for a couple of those. He went undefeated as a starter in the regular season, and he only has 3 losses in his Bulldogs career. And one of those was the SEC championship game, and another came against Alabama. So Stetson Bennett is a fantastic quarterback when he plays inside the system that Georgia has for him. And Michigan on defense, they seemed like they were schemed correctly for this game. But like we said, the physicality that Georgia's demanding from the other side in Michigan's defense just hasn't really been there. We've been so used to seeing Michigan be able to push the offenses back. You know, the smaller Big Ten teams, Indiana, Northwestern, you could even say Penn State, they did a good job of doing that. But so far today, it just hasn't happened, and this is a different animal that they're playing. Georgia's on the level of an Ohio State that we see every year. However, they're a lot more smash mouth and spread. Ohio State's more spread than smash mouth of Georgia, and they're proving that today.
And just quickly looking at some of the stats of the first half, total yards for Georgia ended with 330 yards. Michigan with 101 yards of total offense. Penalties fairly similar. Georgia had a clean half, other than that last play that was targeting on Christopher Smith, which was 15 yards. Michigan with 2 penalties for 10 yards. And you can look at the quarterback play of Stetson Bennett. He's 16 of 22 for 234 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, completing 73% of his throws for a rating of a 192. McNamara, 8 for 12, 72 yards, an interception, completing only 67% of his throws. But the story of this game is how well Georgia's defense has stopped Michigan's rushing offense. They held Hassan Haskins to 13 yards. His longest carry was 4 yards. And Hassan Haskins coming into this game has a Michigan career record of 20 touchdowns, 9 of those coming in the last 3 games. So right now, going into the locker room, we've always mentioned, like, can Cade McNamara take this team to the next level? Does Harbaugh pull the trigger and throw it to the true freshman, J.J. McCarthy, and say, here's the keys, take us home?
No. No. The answer is no.
Pretty simple.
The answer is no. I love J.J. McCarthy. I think he's shown this year in the opportunities that he's been given that he is the most talented quarterback that this program has seen in, honestly, quite a long time. But it is far too early. You're throwing him into just an absolute buzzsaw that is this Georgia defense, and that's not what you want to do to your young quarterback. Cade McNamara has been your guy through all the most difficult parts of this season. Your one loss at Michigan State, that was Cade McNamara all the way. Against Ohio State, your biggest game of the season, that was Cade McNamara all the way. Yes, J.J. McCarthy was in there in spurts, but you lean on your guy that got you here. You trust in him. J.J. McCarthy's time will come, and I'm sure he will shine when the time is his. But right now, it is Cade McNamara's time. He hasn't even played that bad in this first half. He hasn't played stellar, but like we mentioned, that interception was just a fluky play with a bad no call. You don't really want to put that on him. And when you have no running game, it's tough to ask him, any quarterback, to throw the ball all over the field against a really talented Georgia defense, unless you're Bryce Young and you have multiple elite weapons on the outside like Jamison Williams.
I just look at what Bama did a couple of years ago with Jalen Hurts and Tua. You know, Hurts wasn't injured, but Nick Saban didn't like what he saw with what Jalen Hurts was doing, and he elected to go with Tua, and it turned out to be the right call. You can also look at what Oklahoma did this year with their QB situation with Spencer Rattler. You know, I don't expect it. We might see more of J.J. McCarthy. So Michigan's they deferred. They're going to get the ball to start the second half. I expect Cade McNamara to be under center, but I would not be shocked if Josh Gaddis and Harbaugh sprinkle in a little bit more of JJ just to see how he responds. And if he's having success on the field, then you go with it.
I don't doubt that if you throw him in on a couple packages and he's extremely successful, that maybe you continue to run some of those packages out there. I just am not sure that throwing him in there is the right move at this point in his career. Obviously, like I've mentioned, his time will come, and he will be one of the best, has one of the brightest futures of anyone on this team. But right now, in this situation, I think you really need to trust the guy that got you here and roll with Cade McNamara.
Yeah. So it is currently halftime here at Hard Rock Stadium. The Georgia Bulldogs up 27-3 over Michigan, just firing on all cylinders.
It's been all Georgia all the time here in Miami in this first half. They just did everything they wanted. We can't talk about Stetson Bennett's performance enough. He was that big question mark for this Georgia offense, really this team. There was never any questions about the defense. Can the defense perform? That was already a known thing. But can Stetson Bennett put up the points, move the football the way this team needs him to and wants him to? And he has met everything and more so far in this first half of football.
The Georgia Bulldogs are halfway to a rematch in the national championship against Alabama. Alabama today in the Cotton Bowl beat Cincinnati 27-6. And Cincinnati, they played a good game of football. You know, a lot of people did not expect them to play that well, but you know, Bama, for how well Bama's played, 27 points is not a lot.
No,
for them. But looking at how Georgia's played this first half and putting up 27 in the first half against a quality Michigan football team, you know, that's impressive. That's really impressive for them.
It is, and this Michigan offense has been one of the more explosive and more high-scoring offenses in college football throughout the season. Obviously scoring 42 against Ohio State, putting up a ton of points in the Big Ten championship against a really, really good Iowa defense as well. They dominated the Big Ten and put up points on almost everyone they played all season. But Georgia is just a completely different animal from the defensive side of the ball, and something they haven't seen this year, and there's nothing really that can prepare you for a team like that.
Yeah, so we are halfway through halftime. We would like to thank all of our listeners listening on 88.3 FM Ann Arbor and all of our YouTube listeners. We are going to hand it over to Zach Linfield and Adam Bressler to take us home here in Miami Gardens.
And you know what, Amer, I know you're leaving us and you're going to walk away from the broadcast booth, but I think a lot of people would rather not be in Ann Arbor right now, because isn't there like 4 or 5 inches of snow coming? He nods his head slowly, yes. Because there's a winter storm coming in Ann Arbor, and, well, for all of those listeners that may be stuck up in the Mitten State, we are very much enjoying the vacation that Miami and the Orange Bowl are giving us right now. And Adam Bressler, you join me to my left. You've been my partner all season long. How's the Sunshine State treating you?
It's been great besides the outcome of this football game. The past
the first half. The
first
half
outcome. Not outcome. The past 30 minutes of game time. But as you mentioned, there is time to come back. It's not a guarantee. It's not a certainty. Michigan has some things to be proud of. They will start the second half with the possession. So even though they are down 27-3 and had the momentum killed with that interception, I know you have some thoughts on that one, but it's not out of reach quite yet. But Michigan just seems to be struggling to finish. They thrived all season on third down and getting just barely enough yards, reliant enough on the running backs to entrust it in them and secure the extra 3, 4, 5 yards needed on third and short. But so far this game, they've had very intense trouble just moving the chains. Their biggest gain was on a deep pass, which this team hasn't had to rely on too much, and it's not exactly their bread and butter this season.
Yeah, and, I mean, that interception didn't even end up equating to anything, so Michigan got away with it. If that targeting call wouldn't have been made, though, Georgia's got an even bigger lead after the first half. So Michigan does get away with a little bit in that kind of sense, but one play really won't change the outcome of this game at this point, because Michigan's going to need a lot to come from behind, and it's going to start with that first drive in the second half. They have to score, and they've got to put a touchdown on the board.
Yeah, I don't even think points are enough. You need to find the end zone, do it in a dominant fashion, but just anything to get the momentum. And then a lot comes down to the defense, too. I'll give them props. They've stopped the run. That was a real concern for me coming into this game, is how Michigan is able to limit what the Bulldogs could do on the ground. And so far, they've been pretty decent at that. They have just been eaten alive passing-wise, especially on the outside posts and deep. You look at them, a lot of the touchdowns came on just go routes on posts, and Michigan's defensive backs unable to hang with them, unable to break things up, unable to prevent the big catch or prevent the touchdown, and that has been crucial in that first half.
Yeah, Michigan's defense, we talked about it a little bit when I came on that report with Amer late in the first half. The physicality that Georgia's offense demands from the opposing defenses is just really, really high. It's very similar to the way that Michigan plays in the Big Ten. When they play Penn State, when they play Michigan State, they're demanding you to be very physical on the defensive end of things. And right now, Georgia's proving that the SEC physicality is a little bit stronger than the Big Ten's as of right now.
Yeah, you saw earlier this week in bowl season, SEC, prior to today, they only had one win, and that was South Carolina versus North Carolina. But a couple of big upsets, including at the hands of the Big Ten. You saw Mizzou lost to Army. You saw Purdue hang on in overtime to win.
What an ending to that game.
I know. And then coming in, the Big Ten looked very strong prior to this morning. That yet to lose. But
right.
I feel like this game alone kind of flips that narrative on its head. And kind of adding in the other semifinal game, too, with Alabama. I guess people were not exactly grouping Bama in with the rest of the clown car in the SEC, but that was a big win over a big team in Dallas. And if Georgia is able to hang on, this will be a big win against a big team here in Miami.
And I think the rematch, if Georgia were to go on to win this game and they're sitting pretty comfortably with a 3-possession lead, and Michigan would have to get all 2-point conversions in order to tie this football game, what a rematch that would be in Indianapolis the following Monday between Georgia and Alabama. I think a lot of people were on the Bulldogs side of things when they faced off in the SEC championship game, but Alabama proved that they are still on top of the SEC, and that loss to Texas A&M midway through the season really didn't mean that much. Saban kind of pushed it off. They said, hey, one loss is one loss. We still got a great chance to make the college football playoff, but we control our own destiny, and Michigan kind of knew that after they lost to Michigan State. Of course, they needed a tiny bit of help from the spoiler makers of Purdue, but they got the job done, and Michigan then controlled their own destiny from there on out. They knew they had to beat Maryland. They knew they had to beat Ohio State. They knew they had to knock off Iowa in the Big Ten championship game. And, Adam, let me remind you, this team was 2-4 last year. And
yeah.
Jim Harbaugh was on the hottest of seats in college football. Michigan comes back. They are 12-1. If they were to have won this game today, they're looking at their first ever 13-win season. But the fact that they're here in Miami playing for the college football playoff, that's an animal in itself.
Absolutely. Since the creation of the college football playoff, Michigan has yet to qualify prior to this year. So that was kind of a monkey off their back, I feel like, beating Ohio State with Jim Harbaugh. It's been a decade since Michigan's been able to do that. Michigan had never qualified for the Big Ten championship since its creation in 2011. So they did that, and then they won it, too, in their first year, and now they made the CFP. So a lot of box checking, it feels like, this season. And I feel like Michigan fans were not expecting this. You mentioned how they came off the 2-4 season. A lot of fans, myself included, probably wanted Harbaugh gone, or at least maybe a change in scenery, but he shut me and everyone else up with his performance, with his incentive-based performance, and actually brought in more money than he would have gotten last year with some of those incentives before giving it away. But the key to the second half, I'd love to hear yours next, but for me, I'm looking at Michigan's running game. All this season, they have thrived on the running game, especially since that very first half of the season where Ronnie Bell got knocked out. I feel like Harbaugh and the rest of the team and the fans recognize the running back room is going to have to step up and fill that void, and they did all season. We had both Haskins and Corum, even Edwards coming in on some plays. I know it's cliche at this point, but the Thunder and Lightning coming in and pounding away at all the Big Ten. So far tonight, Michigan has 29 yards rushing, and 13 of those come from Haskins, 10 from Edwards, -1 from Corum. So McNamara, the least mobile of our two quarterbacks, has more rushing yards than Blake Corum, the number 2 running back on the team. I don't know exactly how Michigan could solve this puzzle, but they got to find something. You're not going to win when your best aspect of your offense is completely neutralized.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously two facets. You're running the ball, you're throwing the ball. And if Michigan isn't able to throw the ball vertically down the field, yeah, they can throw it horizontally. It's really easy to turn to your right and throw a 10-yard pass for a screen that goes for 1 or 2 yards, right? But then if you're throwing the ball vertically, that pass to Roman Wilson, that was easily the best play of the day from the Michigan offense. And those passes down the field and completing those, that ends up opening up the run game through the play action. And that's what Michigan has done all year. They've been able to establish the run, and by establishing the run, that opens up the play action. Michigan may just have to reverse engineer this offense in this half, throw the ball vertically, and then let the holes open up for the run game. I would expect Michigan to get in the end zone at least once here in the second half by doing something similar to that. So I'm going to pose you a question now, and that's going to be, if you're Coach Harbaugh, you're Coach Gaddis, and you're talking to the team, even defensive coordinator Mike McDonald, who graduated from Georgia, what are you saying to this group of guys that's played inspired all year?
I'd say first things first, don't give up. It starts at the top. If Harbaugh looks defeated, the rest of the team is going to feel defeated. I don't have any sight into the locker room, no insight at the moment, but Harbaugh has to come out strong, show his team that this game is not over. I know it's daunting being down 27-3 at halftime, but they will get the ball back. And Michigan, with some defensive stops, could have changed the game around. All season, Michigan has really dominated chipping away at their opponent. So far, Georgia has been the complete opposite. Their biggest plays have been on 3rd and short, and they throw 20, 30 yards down the sideline. So I guess specifics besides keeping the enthusiasm and momentum up, try mixing things up. We haven't seen a ton from JJ today. I'm reluctant to rely too much on him. That's what we saw in the Michigan State game. We got in a bit of a hole. I feel like Harbaugh was a little bit quick to kind of put him in and put too much on his back to begin with. But maybe try mixing him in. Maybe see what his arm could do. We saw in Ohio State where he had that bullet pass that no one was expecting.
Right. To Roman Wilson down that right sideline, and an inch shorter, and that ball's intercepted, and Ohio State's right back into that football game. However, for J.J. McCarthy, we go back to that Michigan State game where he fumbled twice on the same drive. It seemed like Michigan was going in a direction, maybe Jim Harbaugh was, maybe he wasn't, with J.J. McCarthy. He may have kind of handed half of the keys, the half set, that big clinky set of keys. He gave half of the keys to J.J. McCarthy, and he left half with Cade McNamara, or reliable, right? So he's also here for another 2 years if he wants to use his COVID eligibility. So we'll talk about it after the game. If this game were to continue to go south and Georgia were to win this game, we'll do a quick recap and review of what will happen next season for the Wolverines. And I would expect a big-time quarterback battle in spring and fall camps, because I think J.J. McCarthy, as long as he's healthy and he knows the playbook, I mean, why not? Throw him in there in the starting position and give him that start next season to open the year for 2022.
And this isn't uncommon, too. You look back with Tom Brady and Hinson, how they platoon 2 quarterbacks. That, speaking of which, the most recent time Michigan has won the Orange Bowl, New Year's Day 2000, so the first day of the new millennium, Tom Brady came in, faced another SEC opponent with Alabama, and got the first ever overtime game and first ever overtime win in Michigan history, which is crazy to think about, that it took until the 21st century for Michigan to play in overtime. But going back to this team and potentially next year's team, I could maybe see a quarter apiece, and then depending on how the game flow's going, stick with one or the other depending on the opponent, maybe target the game plan. But these 2 quarterbacks really complement each other. And as Georgia's preparing to kick off, I think the last word I'll have to say is if either quarterback has a good performance now, that'll set the tone for the offseason.
Camarda boots it with the right foot, and it goes through the back of the end zone for A.J. Henning. Michigan will take over from the 25-yard line, trailing 27-3 here in the Orange Bowl in the semifinals of the college football playoff. And you just mentioned it. They might have to split halves going in the next season. Michigan starts with an easier slate than most. Colorado State, Hawaii, UConn, and then they open Big Ten play with Maryland. The schedule is subject to change for next season, but for now, Michigan from the 25-yard line and the left hash has McNamara as the quarterback, Haskins the deep back. McNamara turns left, hands off to Haskins. He gets right back to the line of scrimmage where big Jordan Davis wrestles him down. No gain on the play. It'll bring up 2nd down and 10 for the Wolverines.
And Michigan trying to break the mold early, unable to get anything. Georgia's front 7 on defense is completely reading the Wolverines like a book.
Michigan again from the shotgun, 25-yard line from the left hash. They move from left to right. Haskins is the running back to the left of McNamara. 3 receivers left, 1 to the right. McNamara gets a snap, throws into the left flat for Haskins. He gets to the 30 and just past there. And the officials will mark him all the way up to the 35-yard line. That might be enough for a Michigan first down.
And it looks like the chain gang is moving down the field. Incredible catch by Haskins. The ball was a bit high. Good awareness to get it up and bring it in and keep on moving forward and getting just barely enough for the new set of downs.
Lewis seen on the stop for the Bulldogs. First down and 10 for the Wolverines from the 35-yard line. 2 plays, 10 yards so far on this drive. McNamara from the shotgun again. Left hash. Haskins is the back to his right. Fakes the handoff to Haskins. Steps up in the pocket, getting away from pressure, and he's sacked.
Once again, this front 7 is making moves, and Michigan's offensive line has been dominant all season, but it feels like Georgia has just cracked the code. Anytime Michigan trying to step back in the pocket from McNamara, just unable to get enough time to even let the play develop.
5th sack of the season for Trayvon Walker, the junior from Thomaston, Georgia. 6'5", 275 pounds. It's a big guy on the edge. Michigan plays from inside the hashes, 2nd down and 16 from the 29-yard line. Blake Corum into the backfield for Michigan, a trio of receivers to the right. McNamara throws out left side into the boundary. It's incomplete, intended for Corum. He almost reeled it in with one hand. Georgia had coverage from the inside linebacker, Nakobe Dean, Butkus Award winner for the top linebacker in the country. 27-3 is the Georgia lead, 13-11 to go in the 3rd quarter. 3rd and 16 for the Wolverines. They stand stout at the Capital One logo at the 29-yard line. McNamara the snap. Drops the throw. Steps up in the pocket. A flag down. The ball's thrown across the middle. It's complete to Eric All right at midfield.
Flag in the backfield. I'm curious who it's on, but the team is moving as if it's on the defense. Huge catch by the tight end right there. Contested ball.
That penalty is declined. Result of the play, first down.
So there you go. It was a defensive penalty, and Michigan declines it and keeps this drive alive.
Jalen Carter, the guilty party on that play. McNamara from the shotgun. Blake Corum is still the back. He gets a snap, hands off. This is actually Haskins to the right side. He's to the 45-40. Haskins breaks away from another tackler at the 35, and he's all the way to the 32-yard line inside Yuga territory. First down, Michigan. A nice pickup of 18 yards on the play.
That almost matches Michigan's entire rushing box score from the first half on that one play alone.
Michigan goes quick on this one. Dan Jackson made the stop for Georgia on the last play, pushing Haskins just out of bounds. From the 31-yard line, Michigan works from the right hash. 3 receivers to the left, 1 to the right. Cornelius Johnson is ISO'd. In motion goes Eric Gall. There's a handoff. Haskins right up the middle. He works in between the hashes, gets a nice push from Zach Zinter before he's taken down.
We got a couple of words being exchanged between the two teams, but nothing too much. Michigan quickly backs off, and they'll have a 2nd and manageable here.
Julian Rochester makes the stop for the Bulldogs. 2nd and 7. Donovan Edwards into the game for the Wolverines at the right hash. 3 receivers split wide to the left. 1 tight end lined up tight as Eric All to the right. Edwards goes in motion. It's a quick throw out into the flat for Edwards. He dropped it, tried to pick it up, and continued.
Rolling on the field's an incomplete pass, 3rd down.
So there you go from the referee. Incomplete pass right there, but trying to be creative, playing to the whistle. I like it. Maybe if it were a backwards lateral, if you pick it up off the bounce, but no success on that one, and it'll be 3rd and 7 here for the Wolverines. Interesting spot on the field. a bit too far for a kick, maybe no man's land. Depends what happens on this crucial third down.
Jake Moody's long on the year is 52. This would be about a 45-yard field goal. Andrell Anthony is into the game as the wide receiver on the numbers on the right side. McCarthy is the quarterback, and Jim Harbaugh races down the sideline to call his first timeout of the half.
Timeout, Michigan. First of the half. Timeout on the field.
So with the play clock nearing the end, J.J. McCarthy was in the shotgun, and Jim Harbaugh, showing off his 40 time, comes down to the sideline for the line judge, Keith Garmond, and referee Scott Campbell makes the timeout call. 11:42 to go. Georgia leads it 27-3 over the Wolverines here in the Capital One Orange Bowl in South Florida.
And this drive is already taken on, first drive of the second half. And it's already almost 4 minutes at play, and Michigan is still out of the red zone. But they're keeping it alive. A couple of third down plays to keep it moving. We see a big change of pace on the ground, especially from Haskins with that 18-yard rush, kind of putting a jolt of adrenaline into the entire Wolverine team and fan base. Looking around, there's a lot of maize here. The fans listened when the athletic department requested a maize out.
They did as well in Indianapolis for that game against Iowa. The Michigan fans travel well, and I'm assuming they have been waiting for this since the establishment of the college football playoff in 2014. And they waited for their turn, and, well, they took their chance, and the Michigan faithful has showed up very nicely here in South Florida. I'm sure there's a large alumni base that lives down here in the Sunshine State as well.
There's a large alumni base pretty much everywhere in the nation, to be honest, but especially South Florida. And one very important alum who lives right by here, Stephen Ross, he was probably thrilled over the moon when he heard that Bama elected to play in Dallas and that his alma mater will play in his playground. Stephen Ross is the owner of the Miami Dolphins, the NFL team that plays here in Hard Rock Stadium. I'm sure he's somewhere up in the owner's box right now.
For the time being, Michigan's looking at a 3rd down and 7 from the 28-yard line as they're about to take the field. J.J. McCarthy will be the quarterback. Michigan trails by 24, 11:42 to go. What do you go with here, Adam?
I see J.J. on. You always have to think about the run. Run first, but honestly, I'd say QB draw, QB rush. Even if it's not a first down, it'll make the kick easier. You need points here. Ideally a touchdown, but just make this kick easier. Get it back to Georgia and trust your defense.
3rd down and 7 from the right hash at the 28-yard line. McCarthy empty in the backfield. 3 receivers split wide to the left, 1 to the right. And up back is a tight end. McCarthy gets a snap, drops the throw across the middle. It's complete to all at the 25. To the 20, he runs over a defender. It's a Michigan first down and a nice pickup for the Wolverines. Dan Jackson, the safety, on the stop.
We've seen that all season. Michigan, 3rd and long-ish, maybe 7, 8, 9. They go to the tight ends. You see you see Schoonmaker, and they work together nicely, especially on the slants. And Michigan is able to keep their offense out on the field with under a bit over 11 minutes left.
Gain of 10 yards on the play. A nice throw from the youngster. Cade McNamara back into the game as the quarterback. He hands off right side for Haskins. He cuts up the field at the 20-yard line to the 15, and that's where he's wrangled down. A nice play by Nolan Smith, the jack linebacker for Georgia. And they have different names. You typically would hear Sam. You might even hear Money. But Mac and Jack are the 2 other linebacker positions for the Bulldogs that they like to use, and their linebackers are seriously legit.
Yeah, Michigan's line is doing good at creating an opening, but the linebackers just find the gap and get the running back, just as we saw there, and that's been one of the many reasons for Michigan's struggles on the ground.
4-yard carry for Haskins on the last play. Michigan from the strong pistol. They jumped off sides. The right tackle, Andrew Stuber, looks like he'll be the guilty party. Here's the call from Scott Campbell.
False start, number 77, offense, 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
Well, they'll ignore Andrew Stuber, and they'll actually give the penalty to Trevor Keegan. So apparently there were 2 Wolverines that were guilty of a false start on that last play. So that'll bring up 2nd down and 11 from the 15-yard line. Or excuse me, from the 20. They had to move them back. From the right hash, Michigan has 3 skilled players to the right, including the tight end Eric All. 1 receiver to the left, Dalen Baldwin. Blake Corum is the running back to the right of McNamara, who drops to throw. 3-step drop, looking corner of the end zone for Baldwin. He overthrew him, intercepted in the end zone.
Looks like another miscommunication there, and that.
Rolling on the field's an interception for a touchback. First down.
It's Darion Kendrick again for Georgia, his 2nd interception of the game.
That is a brutal play. Michigan was doing what they needed for the first down, several third down conversions, and then in the red zone just have it snatched away like that, going for it all. Props to the defensive back there, able to snag it in. And this just keeps the momentum on the Bulldogs side.
You've got to wonder what the thought process of Dalen Baldwin could have been on that last play. He stopped at the goal line like it was supposed to be a comeback or a hitch route. And Cade McNamara, visibly upset with him, wanted him to go for the fade ball in the corner of the end zone. And I mean, why not? You're going up against a cornerback that's not really close to your height. And Darion Kendrick comes away with his 2nd interception. If Stetson Bennett wasn't to win the MVP, I think I have an idea of who it could be.
Yeah, I believe as media we get to vote in that MVP selection, but so far it's going to be a tough one between 2 players on the Bulldogs, offense and defensive MVP maybe. But with 2 minutes left, you almost wonder if Georgia begins putting in the burn clock playbook, just trying to milk this one out, keep their cards close to their chest ahead of the rematch against Alabama in Indianapolis.
Now, I'm sure Michigan fans would have loved the experience of only having to drive 3.5, 4 hours to Indy compared to, 21 to get down here to Miami. But we're in SEC country right now, of course, and maybe even ACC country since the Miami Hurricanes do play here at Hard Rock Stadium. But a Midwest final for the Wolverines would have been a spectacle, that's for sure.
Oh, you know it. And I am wondering about the CFP championship site. It rotates every year. Indiana was probably the closest it would feasibly get to Michigan. I can't imagine Ford Field ever hosting an event like that. They just don't have a lot of the hotel space to do it. But like you see the usual suspects host it. You see Phoenix, you see the new stadium in LA. I believe Vegas is going to host it. I believe Miami is on the docket in a couple years too. So it's always in the nice Sun Belt. It rarely comes up into the Midwest. And the 1 year Michigan makes the playoffs, it's in the Midwest. Fortunately, those hopes might be dashed this evening on New Year's Eve.
Lucas Oil Stadium is a wonderful venue. We figured that out in the Big Ten championship game. And it would be interesting to see a final at Ford Field. More than likely the teams competing in that would practice at their own facilities, make their way up to Detroit the day before the game for Media Day, and that would be it. Of course, Michigan and Georgia, they both spent the whole week down here to get used to the humidity and the heat of playing in southern Florida.
I think it's a bit easier for Georgia coming down from Athens than the Wolverines up from snowy Michigan. I believe 5 or 6 inches on the ground right now.
And more on the way.
More on the way.
Happy New Year.
Exactly. 2022 coming your way.
For anyone listening, of course, a Happy New Year and happy holidays. Hope your last week was fantastic. Family, friends, and Michigan football. Georgia's football, as of right now, from the left hash at the 20-yard line, Stetson Bennett as the quarterback, James Cook, the brother of Dalvin Cook, as the running back to his left. Bennett hands off Cook, and right there is Josh Ross to make a nice play at the left hash. No gain on the play. It'll bring up 2nd down and 10 with just under 10 minutes to go. Here in the third quarter, Georgia leading 27-3.
Ross has been a key component of this defense, stepping up as captain. There was question marks whether he would declare last spring. He decided to stay in Ann Arbor. I'm sure he's glad he made that decision. Not only did he get a play on this Big Ten championship team, but his draft stock went up.
Leading tackler for the Wolverines, 95 tackles coming into today. Bennett again from the 20-yard line. Cook is the back. He splits 2 receivers to each side. He hands off Cook with a little space. He rumbles his way towards the left side of the offensive line, and he's brought down by Mozzie Smith and Aiden Hutchinson. A gain of 2, 3rd down and 8. And here's been Michigan's issue today, getting off the field on 3rd down, but it's typically been 3rd and short. This one's at 3rd and 8.
Yeah, Michigan's. I think we could expect the run for the rest of the game, or at least a majority of it, as Georgia tries to milk this clock down. You know, it's still the third quarter, but they definitely have that on their mind. And Michigan, I feel like they prepared more for the run coming into this game, so that might be a bit advantageous for them.
From the 22-yard line, Bennett splits two running backs to both of his hips. It's Milton and White. Bennett drops a throw. Pressure coming. There's a clear hold on the side. Not going to be called. Bennett throws across his body, and it's almost intercepted by Mike Morris, the big defensive end. Big pressure, though, came from Josh Ross. Aiden Hutchinson was livid about a no-holding call on the right edge as he was blocked by Warren McClendon, the big right tackle for the Dogs.
We got the punt crew coming on out. Not something Michigan has seen much of this game so far.
Not in the first half, at least.
Yeah, but this is big for Michigan's defense. The offense was unable to find the end zone, but the defense came on out, fired up, and did what they needed. Quick turnover.
Jake Camarda, who does the kickoff duties for the Bulldogs, is in punt formation. A big rush comes from the Wolverines. They just miss it. Blake Corum almost got a finger on it. A.J. Henning will return it from the 25-yard line. He's got space up the middle of the field at the 30. He rolls out to his left side. He's got space at the 35. Picks up a block to the 40, and he's run out of bounds at the 41-yard line. A good return from A.J. Henning. Finally gets his opportunity after touchbacks have sailed over his head all night long.
Yeah, and what we've seen is against that Maryland game, me and you were calling that, he actually had some trickery and was able to find the end zone there. Not quite as successful on that one, but he did make it on down the field and gave a relatively decent field position. I'm curious where they spot it. Looks like the 38 or 39 on Michigan's half, so not terrible field position, not great either, but it's up to the offense now. Defense did what they needed to do. Michigan just needs to, if they want to stay in this game, a quick statement. It's not going to work with a field goal anymore, especially not a turnover after that last drive. They need points, and they need it quick.
And, of course, you throw it back to that drive. If Michigan comes away with a touchdown there and then a 3-and-out on the defensive end, you're in a pretty good spot because then you're down 27-3. I would assume Michigan possibly would have gone for 2 to make it a 3-possession game. They'd have to score 2-point conversions on all 3 touchdowns. But Michigan, they're still in this game. It's a 24-point game. Of course, they're going to need a lot of things to go their way that they might not typically get, turnovers, penalties, etc. But they're still in this game. They have the ball with 8:17 to go during this media timeout with 1:30 left on the media.
Speaking of those penalties, so far the officials have let this been a relatively clean game.
Right.
Not as much laundry on the field, not too many whistles. It's a Big 12 crew. They usually do this in the CFP. They always do this where it's not from a conference that is playing in that one, like a neutral referee. But Michigan only has 2 penalties compared to 1 from Georgia, and that one was a 15-yarder. So it's been a relative non-factor, but if these officials change their mind, that could be the spark that the Wolverines need. I feel like I could only imagine what the internet and all the pundits and college football fans will say if some controversial call ends up bailing out the Wolverines. Feels like it fits a narrative that a lot of people already hold. You saw the Purdue game with that very controversial overtime spot where they ruled it no touchdown in a 4th and 1 on the 1-inch line. If that happened to Michigan, I feel like East Lansing would be burnt to the ground. You just have riots all over the country, all over the Midwest.
Well, Michigan's going to get the ball back after forcing a 3-and-out. A.J. Henning, a very good return of 16 yards to the 40-yard line. That's where the spot is. Michigan will move from left to right from the left hash. Their offensive set will come out with a bunch tight to the right. The running back is Blake Corum off the right hip of McNamara. Cornelius Johnson, the lone receiver at the numbers on the left sideline by his Michigan teammates. McNamara claps his hands. It's a 3-step drop. Pocket starts to collapse. He throws across the middle. It's incomplete, intended for Corum. And that's just a misfire by Cade McNamara. In coverage was Nakobe Dean.
Corum had a couple steps open, just unable to reel it in, and it was a bit of a misfire from McNamara, but the pocket was closing too. We've seen that all game. This isn't a Big Ten pocket presence. Georgia's firing, and they're firing quickly.
J.J. McCarthy in the game as the quarterback. Michigan from the 40-yard line. 2nd down and 10. 4 receivers to the right, 1 to the left in an empty backfield for McCarthy. A belt-high snap. Drops to throw. Looks left side. It's complete to Cornelius Johnson at the 45. Extends his way to the 47-yard line. It's a pickup of about 6 from our angle here in the corner of the end zone. It'll bring up 3rd down and 4. A nice throw from J.J. McCarthy.
That's Johnson's first reception of the game. He's been very quiet until that one.
Kendrick on the stop for Georgia. 3 receivers split wide to the right, 1 to the left. A running back in the backfield is Corum. He's to the left of McCarthy in the shotgun. Michigan maneuvering from the 47-yard line. In motion goes Eric Gall. A handoff. Blake Corum with space. Cuts past the 50-yard line. The ball is free on the ground. Georgia's on top of it.
That's the last thing Michigan needed, and I'll call it now. Game's over. A turnover that quickly on that drive just takes all the momentum out of the Wolverines.
Rolling on the field is a fumble recovered by Georgia. First down.
And you hear the Georgia student section riled up about that one.
We see the replay. This might be coming back at him. Blake Corum was almost reeled to the ground, and then the ball sputtered away. So they're going to have to take a deep look at whether or not Blake Corum's right knee was down. And of course, on our end, we would love to see that he was down. But what are you seeing on your monitor over there?
I'm taking a look. I don't know. It looks like he might have been down. I don't think it's clear and irrefutable as they need. Especially this crew so far tonight has shown they want to let the boys play. I don't feel like they're going to get involved in this one. We saw in the other turnover in the first half with that interception how they were reluctant to get involved in that sense. It looks like they won't even be taking a look at it.
Stetson Bennett, the quarterback. Georgia sets up from their own 44-yard line. He drops to throw. Looks to the right side. Pressure coming. Multiple flags down. Throw across the middle. A one-handed catch brought in. What a catch out there by Kieris Jackson. Well, there's multiple flags down in the backfield. It looks like it's coming back.
Yeah, I believe it's holding. Let's see what the ref has to say. Scott Campbell from the Big 12.
What a beautiful catch in the meantime by Kieris Jackson. Waiting right there was Rod Moore.
Both by the offense. Holding, number 69, offense. That penalty is declined. Personal foul, face mask, number 69, offense. That penalty enforced 15 yards from the previous spot. Still first down.
So David Ojabo causing some
the hold
problems.
was on number 70. That will be declined. Number 70 was the hold. That's declined.
Well, there we go. It was Jamari Salyer, the left tackle, who was trying to block David Ojabo, and the right tackle, Warren McClendon, was flagged for the hold. Nonetheless, the face mask will go against Salyer. First down and 25 for the Dogs now from their own 29-yard line. 2 running backs in the backfield. It's Kendall Milton to the right, James Cook to the left of Bennett. Brock Bowers is in the slot to the right side. Wide to the left, Darnell Washington, another one of those big tight ends. In motion goes Cook. Bennett swings it out to the right side, tipped by Hill, but it's caught at the 30-yard line. He cuts up the field at the 35-40, and he's brought down just past the 40-yard line at about the 42. DJ Turner on the stop for Michigan.
So just like that, Michigan had a first and really long. Now it's second and manageable. Michigan just can't get a break here against this Georgia offense.
So Georgia came into today with a 16-16 turnover margin. That makes it 0. They're +3 in this game, 2 interceptions and 1 fumble recovery. Nakobe Dean having a great game alongside the young man Darion Kendrick. Had to take a look at my spotting chart there. Bennett from the shotgun, fakes the handoff to Milton, floats it, it's incomplete. Daxton Hill got another hand on it, and the whistles are blown.
And looks like there's a bit of a scuffle on the far side of the field. Ojabo is quick to separate his teammate.
Mozzie Smith away from Justin Schaefer. Brock Bowers was the intended receiver for Georgia. 6:16 to go, 27-3 is the Georgia lead. Michigan back-to-back turnovers on back-to-back possessions. 3rd down and 12 for the Dogs. Ball's at the 42-yard line, right hash of Georgia. Kenny McIntosh, the passing running back, into the game. He now splits out to the left side, splitting Bowers and the receiver, Burton. Bennett swings it out left side. It's to McIntosh. He cuts up the field at the 45. He's got the first down. Mike Morris finally makes the stop at the 41-yard line. And Kenny McIntosh, they have to know that 6 is out there, and McIntosh brings in another nice catch and run.
Michigan at 3rd and long and just unable to get off the field for the defense right there. And Georgia keeps the chains moving like they have all evening. Looking in the box score, Michigan has yet to record a sack this evening.
18 yards on that last play. Gray and Morris combined on the tackle. Bennett flips it out to the left side. Amer White will take it up the field. And it's another nice gain for the Dogs.
Looks like it'll be just enough to move the chains once again. The Dogs are rolling, looking for the first points from either team this half.
We're almost 10 minutes into this half. 5:25 showing on the game clock, 3rd quarter. Georgia leads 27-3. Amer White will remain the running back for Stetson Bennett, who's in the shotgun. Splits 2 receivers wide to the right. 2 tight ends are tight left, Bowers and Washington. To the left of Bennett is his running back, White. Bennett claps his hands, gets a snap, fakes the throw, and now he'll throw it right back to White. And White down the sideline, tiptoeing his way to about the 15.
And it looks like it'll be just shy of the 1st, so maybe 2nd and inches here. Depends where
it looks
the
like they're going to
spot
say that
is.
he stepped out of bounds at about the 21-yard line, so they will be a yard shy. So it'll be 2nd down and 1 for Georgia. Quick to the line, go the Bulldogs. Bennett flips out right side. White with a lot of space and a couple of blockers. He's tracked down from behind. A nice stop by Josh Ross at the 17-yard line. If he doesn't come around to make the tackle, Georgia had one more blocker, and that's a touchdown for Georgia.
Yeah, we'd be seeing him at the pylon right about now. Josh Ross, he's everywhere on this defense. He's back in safety coverage when needed. He's blitzing the quarterback. He's there to break up a pass. Really making his presence known despite the outcome of this game so far.
Gain of 5 to the Michigan 16. Bennett from the shotgun. The running back is James Cook to his right. Here's a flip to James Cook, the same exact play as the last one. He cuts up the field at the 10. There's a flag down. It looks like it's going to go against the Bulldogs. But at about the 7-yard line, Michael Barrett and Brad Hawkins pushed Cook out of bounds.
Let's send it down to the field, Mike, with referee Scott Campbell.
Holding, number 0, offense, 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul, still 1st down.
That's the tight end, Darnell Washington. And I'll tell you what, Adam, these tight ends are large from Georgia. 6'4", 6'7", 6'7", and they're in on almost every single play on offense, proving Georgia can push around a wimpy defense.
They're practically extra linemen there too, and when needed they could catch it in. Michigan had no trouble against Iowa, the Big Ten resident tight end farm, but Georgia's showing how down south they grow those players.
Cook on the carry right up the middle. He's stuffed away by a couple of Michigan defenders. Another piece of laundry on the field. Coming from the captain in the back, the umpire, Robert Richson.
I feel like I jinxed it like 5 minutes ago. I said how clean of a game it's been so far. Since then, we've had several penalties.
Personal foul, chop block, number 69 and 19, high-low combination. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot, still 1st down.
So they just keep moving back and back, but keeping the down marker the same. Michigan's getting stops, but they prefer keeping the ball moving in negative direction. The thing that I'd be most concerned about right now for Harbaugh is the time. Even if you're getting better field position on defense, the clock's still moving.
Well, it's 1st down and a long way to go. 31, the running back is Amer White. Bennett fakes the handoff to him. Plenty of time in the pocket. He gets away from Taylor Upshaw and rolls to his left at the hash. He runs it up the field at the 30-yard line, and he's tackled out of bounds by the Michigan defense.
Michigan
Some
had
pushing and shoving going on at the sideline. They want a flag. Donovan Jeter's on his back right in the middle of all the Bulldogs.
Michigan had a chance for a sack there, just unable to close out on the pocket. Bennett showing what he could do with his legs, rolling out for a decent gain of about 7 yards.
The running back will remain Amer White. 2nd down and 22 for Georgia from the 28-yard line. Adonai Mitchell, the wide receiver wide to the left, caught the touchdown pass earlier from Kenny McIntosh. Under center is Bennett. Turns, fakes the handoff, and a lot of pressure coming from the Michigan defense. Bennett continues to roll out to his right and finally flips it away into the stands on the far sideline.
No foul for intentional grounding. The quarterback was out of the pocket, ball across the line of scrimmage. 3rd down.
Looks like some lucky fan will be getting a souvenir after that one. He just chucked that into the 5th or 6th row.
Vincent Gray was coming with big-time pressure from his cornerback position right in the face of Stetson Bennett. Michigan's done a very good job throughout the last part of the season against the play-action pass by having pressure constantly in the face of the opposing quarterback. 2 receivers split wide to the right for Bennett in the shotgun with Amer White as his running back on 3rd down and 22. Bennett rolls out to the right, looking for a corner route near the end zone, and it's knocked away. What a play by DJ Turner in the coverage of Ladd McConkey.
We've seen Michigan struggle with the defensive backs, especially along the sideline this game, but that was a big-time play and is going to force the kicking unit on the field here. Only 2 minutes left in this 3rd quarter, so the clock is ticking as Michigan really is struggling to make anything happen on offense, even as the defense provides some stops.
Podlesny on for the 45-yard field goal. He hit from 43 in the 2nd quarter. Good snap, good hold. Kick is up, and it is no good.
Wow,
He threw it wide left. So Michigan dodges a bit of a bullet, and it remains a 3-possession game if everything were to go right for the Wolverines. 27-3 is the Georgia lead here on WCBN FM Ann Arbor.
We'd like to thank those listening from home, both on YouTube and over the FM airwaves. Only our 2nd live game over the FM network since COVID began, so we'd like to thank you sincerely for spending your New Year's Eve with us, whether it's at home or whether you're in the car right now or maybe at a New Year's party. I'm sure there might be a lot of sad fans at those parties.
A couple of people have probably already celebrated the New Year that are listening here, but of course you'd prefer a different Michigan outcome as of right now, but a 24-point lead for Georgia with 16:59 to go in this game is still overcomable. Michigan is still in this game, but they need a lot of things to go right. We talked about the officiating. That certainly helped them out there because without those penalties, Georgia is more than likely either in the end zone or puts 3 points on the board.
Yeah, and with that, Michigan will get decent, I guess okay field position. They'll start on the 28-yard line, so it's practically a touchback there without the formality of having to kick it in the end zone. But that is crucial. It keeps it a 3-possession game that it was missed. It will require a lot of skill from the 2-point conversion aspect. It would 3 straight 2-point conversions, but technically it is only 3 possessions. And we'd have to see a miracle for Michigan to tie this one up or come back. As I was mentioning earlier, Michigan does have overtime experience in the Orange Bowl against an SEC opponent going back to 2000. I will go out on a limb and say we won't be seeing overtime tonight.
Well, interestingly enough about the stadium, Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida, we are cooped up in the corner of the Georgia end zone. So we're not at midfield like we would typically be on a road broadcast or at home in the big house. We're in the corner of the end zone, so the far side of the field is very difficult to see. So trying to paint the picture, we're seeing the Capital One Orange Bowl logo on midfield backwards.
Yeah, and this stadium is very interesting because it served as both as a dual-use stadium.
Baseball, and that's why we're in the corner.
Exactly. The Dolphins played here since 1987, and then when the Marlins were created in 1993, they came in here too till 2011. So the way the field dimensions were aligned, you got home plate in the corner, so the press box would be right behind home plate, a great place. Doesn't quite line up for football, unfortunately. I prefer 50-yard line, but it is the way it goes sometimes.
Michigan has the ball first down and 10 from the 28-yard line of the maize and blue. Donovan Edwards is the running back to the right of McNamara in the shotgun. Two receivers split wide to the left. One to the right is Roman Wilson, who has the longest gain of the day for Michigan. McNamara, a 5-step drop, throws across the middle. It's brought in and tackled immediately. The tackle was made by Quay Walker, and the catch was made by the running back Edwards.
Just had no time in the pocket to let that play develop. Had no choice but to utilize the safety valve and just get it out of his hands.
Michigan goes quick. McNamara gets a snap, steps up in the pocket, away from pressure. The ball's loose on the ground, and Georgia's all over it again.
Looks like
hold on. Michigan may have gotten right back on it with a lucky bounce, but Cade McNamara felt pressure come from behind. And immediately in goes J.J. McCarthy.
This is very
That's Jordan Davis.
Yeah, uncharacteristic from Cade McNamara. He was known, especially early in the season, as very hesitant to turn it over, both in the air and on the ground. He was one of the safest guys in all of college football.
Third down, 8 yards to go. McCarthy from the shotgun. Two receivers split wide to the left, three to the right. Edwards in motion from left to right. Joins the backfield for McCarthy from the 30. JJ drops to throw. Lots of time across the middle. What a pass to Eric All at midfield. He continues to churn his legs past the 45. Man, that youngster can sling it, can he?
Absolutely. Into Georgia territory here, and that's the spark Michigan needed on 3rd and long, especially coming after that near turnover.
McCarthy from the gun. Edwards to his left. JJ to throw. A far throw intended for Roman Wilson, just over the outstretched fingertips along the right sideline.
Wilson had a couple feet of space, but just overthrew that one and was unable to haul it in. Their burnt opportunity. But interesting to see this quarterback decision from Harbaugh late in this game.
Keely Ringo was in coverage for the Bulldogs on that last play. Big DB wears number 5. McCarthy from the shotgun at Georgia's 45. Edwards remains the back. Freshman tandem for the Wolverines. JJ gets a snap. Rolls out to the right to throw. He gets to the 50-yard line. He's going to keep it. He's to the 45, and he got leveled by the linebacker, Quay Walker. And hopping right back up goes J.J. McCarthy, and he says, let's get on to the next play.
Yeah, he shook it off. Bold move not to go into the slide. Maybe got an extra yard or two. But that is a big-time hit.
Yeah, 3rd quarter. Time out of the field.
So there you go. 15 minutes down in the second half. 15 remaining. Michigan trails 27-3. And on the bright side, Adam, no points from the Bulldogs there in the 3rd quarter.
Yeah, on the dark side, no points either from the Wolverines, despite several golden opportunities. But I do see it hasn't gotten as out of hand as this could have. It took some help from that missed kick, but 1 quarter left to play. It's going to take a miracle for the Wolverines to come back in this one.
As the 4th quarter begins, there's a big tradition in the SEC of putting the 4s up into the air, and Georgia might do it the best across SEC country of those in Athens. And both fan sections have been fantastic. The Liv Moss, Taco Bell student sections, they traveled both very well. We're in Georgia's corner, right above their student section. And Michigan, they traveled their best as well. From Ann Arbor, a 21-hour drive and a 4-hour flight for those that made their way down.
Yeah, it's certainly an opportunity as a student radio station at Michigan to be in an NFL press box right now, commentating a college football playoff. But wish the outcome would be a bit different. But just to be in this stage, I feel like many Michigan fans and players are just super excited for the opportunity to even face this this SEC team in the college football playoffs. And technically, Michigan's the home team in this one too, so they came in as a 2 seed.
And of course, it's a dream come true, I'm sure, for all 4 of us, Amer, Kelin, Adam, and alongside me, Zach Linfield. It's a fantastic opportunity that we had to call this college football playoff semifinal, and, well, perhaps the last Michigan game for Amer up there. So salute to you, sir, for your time with WCBN. Of course, we're 15 minutes away, so hopefully the Maize and Blue can put something together and solve the jigsaw puzzle that is Georgia's defense and get a couple of lucky bounces to go their way. 27-3 is the Bulldogs' advantage, and this is what they've done all season long. They suffocate you with their defense, and they take control by doing just enough on offense, and the Michigan turnovers certainly have not helped them today.
Yeah, not at all. And Michigan, they have the ball now, and they were driving prior to that into the intermission at the end of the third quarter, but just unable to find the end zone. It looked like they had a prime opportunity right at the start of the second half, just threw the interception. Very terrible look. It probably was a miscommunication is what it looks like. But regardless, Michigan has yet to score any touchdowns this game and yet to get any points this half.
And for the 4th consecutive play, J.J. McCarthy is the QB for the Wolverines. It'll be 3rd down and 6 from the 41, and you could bet your good money that if Michigan is held here on 3rd down, they'd probably go for it on 4th to try and do something to get into this football game. 27-3 is the Georgia lead. McCarthy from the shotgun at the 41-yard line of the Bulldogs. Edwards is the back to his left. A tight bunch to the left includes Andrell Anthony, who's seen only a couple of snaps today. McCarthy gets the snap. He'll drop to throw. Getting away from pressure, he weaves to his left. Pressure coming. He's almost tackled by the shoelaces, and JJ just yeaves it down the field. It's incomplete, intended for Cornelius Johnson.
That was risky. It could have been a pick if it were in bounds. And it's 4th and 6. Tough decision. Maybe not that tough of a decision, but a decision to be made by Jim Harbaugh right now.
Dan Jackson was in the coverage of Cornelius Johnson from the far sideline. Lots of pressure was coming from the Jack linebacker Nolan Smith. 4th down and 6. Michigan's got to get this one here. McCarthy empties the backfield. Split wide to the right is Donovan Edwards, a tight end to the right, 3 receivers left. Johnson, Anthony, and Sainer still are the trio. McCarthy gets a snap. He'll drop the throw. Throws long across the field, intended for Sainer still, and he overthrew him. It's a turnover on downs, Georgia's football.
Once again, Sanderson was open, had some steps, but just too much power, and it sailed over his head.
And with a media timeout on the field, 2 minutes and 30 seconds of break. What do you think about this decision for Jim Harbaugh to kind of roll with J.J. McCarthy here in this drive?
I think he might be showing a bit of his hand on his decision in the spring and next fall about who he prefers to lead the team of the future. He recognizes this game is probably out of hand at this point. Just gave up the ball with 14:46 left in the game, down by 3 possessions. Feel like he wants to get maybe get some experience for the future of the program.
And of course, you've seen him paired up with Donovan Edwards in the backfield for almost that whole drive as well. So a look into the future for Michigan. Of course, this game's not quite over yet, but without getting into the end zone at least once today, that's going to be pretty difficult for the Wolverines to do to overcome a deficit like this with only 14:46 to go.
Yeah, and I think a touchdown would be great, even if it's unable to change the outcome.
It would show the fight of the team.
Yeah.
They didn't give up on Coach Harbaugh here in the end.
Exactly. Harbaugh was in the hot seat this time last year. A lot of questions about the future of the program. The players stuck with him. They were rewarded. I guess they put in the work as well. But I'm curious, with this potentially being the last game of the season for the Wolverines, about some of the departures maybe taking place. You look at that defense, a lot of departures, especially from the two dominant players in Ojabo and Hutchinson, both of them are very likely to go to the NFL. You got
Josh Ross and Brad
Hawkins. I'm sure Hill, Dax Hill.
Right.
A lot of questions before this game about him. But the offense, on the other hand, is largely intact. You have Haskins is probably the only one who's leaving among the key players. You heard Ronnie Bell already say he's coming back.
Besides the O-line, they're going to be
the
losing
O-line, but in terms
Andrew
of the skill
Bastardas
possession, yeah, the line's going to be tough. But the skill position players, we got Corum coming back. You have basically almost all of the receiver core coming back except some of the tight ends. Got Cornelius Johnson, got Roman Wilson. You got Edwards, who, as the season progressed, has gotten more and more responsibility. He could be a key player in the future. This offense does look very bright, but a lot of holes on defense yet to be filled.
21-yard line for the Bulldogs. First down and 10 from the left hash. Bennett under center. Kendall Milton is the back. He gets the carry straight up the middle, and he's met by the interior defensive line of the Wolverines, including Jalen Harrell off the edge.
And another thing I'll be keeping the eye on this game, too, is potentially how the draft stock changes. You got Hutchinson, potential #1 overall pick. He has yet to make much of a noise this game. No sacks, only a handful of tackles. Maybe a late-game sack could be helpful for his case in the NFL scouting department.
Second down and 9. Here's another handoff to Milton right up the middle, and he's met by the two middle linebackers, Ross and Colson. He got a nice push from his offensive line to the 47-yard line of Georgia, and that'll bring up third down. But we're going back to the offensive line and who they may find as replacements. Carson Barnhart showing a lot of promise for the Wolverines. They just picked up a big transfer, a Remington Award finalist for the best center in the country. Olu Olowatimi will join the Wolverines this coming spring.
Yeah, I'm sure even more players are going to be breakout stars next fall, too.
Third down and 4. Milton remains the back. In motion goes Bowers into a power formation to the right. Bennett rolls out left side. He's got a lot of space at the 45, cuts up the field at the 50, and he's inside Michigan territory before Josh Ross forces him to slide down. 48-yard line is the mark. First down for Georgia.
Bennett has been incredibly skilled at rolling out of the pocket, unable to let the two-headed beast, the serpent, come at you both ways from Ojabo and Hutchinson. Finds the weakest link, rolls out that way, and more times than not picks up a first down on those types of plays.
Zamir White is now the running back for Georgia, with the tight end bunched tight to the left. One receiver to the right is Pickens. Bennett hands off to White right up the middle, and there's a big push from the Georgia offensive line for a gain up to the 42-yard line. It's a pickup of 6 on the play. Second down and 4 for the Bulldogs.
Bennett has 32 yards rushing and 268 yards passing, so exactly 300 combined yards this game. This is going to be a night he never forgets.
Michigan came into this game ranked 21st in the NCAA in passing defense. Stetson Bennett doing a fantastic job of keeping the Wolverines on their heels. The back is Zamir White is to the right of Bennett. Tight end trio to the right as well. Hand off to White up the middle, and he's met by a couple of Wolverines, including Mozzie Smith and Nakai Hill Green at the 39-yard line. That'll bring up third down and 1. Under 12 minutes to go. Georgia 27, Michigan 3.
Georgia's just keeping the clock churning, not having to reveal any advanced plays that they might have been saving. Save that for Alabama on the 10th.
Bennett will go with an empty set. The running back, James Cook, will now come back into the backfield as Bennett shifts the formation from the left hash. Ball at the 39-yard line, 1 yard to gain for Georgia. Bennett from the shotgun claps his hands. He'll throw. Pressure coming from the right side. He's hit, but there's a nice pass. It's complete. Cook at the 10-5 touchdown, Georgia. They crack the scoring here in the second half, and the last name, Cook, continues to terrorize the Wolverines here in South Florida.
That is a good comparison right there, as Georgia all but seals this one as if it hadn't already. Goes up by 30 with the extra point pending.
Junior Colson, the inside linebacker, was fooled, and Cook ran right around him. We throw it back to 2016 and the Wolverines playing in the Capital One Orange Bowl, where they lost to Florida State 33-32. Dalvin Cook had 3 catches for 62 yards, but he also carried 20 times for 145 yards and a touchdown to seal the deal for the Seminoles against the Wolverines. Podlesny's extra point is up and pure, and it's a 34-3 lead for the Bulldogs here in Southern Florida, and a 31-point lead with 11:11 to go is not ideal for the Michigan faithful.
Not ideal is a bit of an overstatement on that one. You see the Michigan student section begin to file on out. A lot of the fans on the Michigan half of the stadium finding their way to the exit. Not the same for Georgia. Student section is packed and as loud as ever, on their feet with the band cheering them on. Even the more fair-weathered fans from Athens are sticking out for the trophy ceremony after this one.
When the media timeout ticks down to 2 minutes, a 31-point lead for Georgia. And what a college football season we had in general, as time is kind of ticking down on the Wolverines here in Miami. We didn't really know if we would see this last fall, full crowds, traveling to games for us at least, broadcast in person rather than virtual. What a treat it's been to be back in the broadcast booth and have football back in general. And of course, COVID's not gone. These different variants still causing a ruckus. Players testing positive in the NFL. NHL just had to take a break. The NBA, college football. We saw Daxton Hill test positive before Christmas. JT Daniels, George Pickens for Georgia. Of course, there's still a scare out there, but it's nice to see football was back in a successful season, which the NCAA did almost everything they could to ensure of that.
Yeah, it kind of fell apart at the end for a handful of bowl games, but by and large the season went off without a hitch, especially compared to last season where it felt like every week half a dozen games were being canceled, including the Michigan-Ohio State game. But we look at this past year, it's been a good one for a lot of sports. It's been a good one for WCBN, so we appreciate your support at home listening to us. Last year, we did not cover any road games for the Michigan football team. This year, we got 7 of them, including the Big Ten Championship and a college football playoff. So not all that was us. We have a lot of people on the field to thank for us being able to travel to those games, but we do appreciate the support.
Number 8 for Georgia is now wearing number 24.
So there you have it. We got a little bit of a jersey swap there. Usually we wait to see after the game for the jersey swap, but I guess with 11:11 remaining in this one, Georgia could not wait.
Jake Camarda to kick it away for the Bulldogs. Deep to return is A.J. Henning for Michigan as the Wolverines trail 34-3 with 11:11 to go. Here in Miami Gardens, Florida, the home of the Miami Dolphins. Camarda, a couple of quick steps and toe to leather. He boots it through the back of the end zone as he's done all night long. First down and 10 for the Wolverines from the 25. Let's see who trots out as the QB, and there's number 9. J.J. McCarthy will take the field for the Wolverines. They'll begin from the right hash, and they'll have to take it 75 yards to try and get to the end zone for the first time here in Miami.
Do you think we see McNamara back on the field this game?
I wouldn't think so. He may have gotten a little roughed up on one of those hits on the drive prior, but for now, McCarthy from the shotgun. Corum is the running back. 4 receivers split wide left. McCarthy drops a nice little screen to Blake Corum at the 20. He's got to get back to the 25 in the line of scrimmage before 5 different Bulldogs were there to make the stop.
It's tough when you get a younger player put in ahead of you. That's kind of demoralizing, kind of the end of the game, and you're set. Tough to bring him back in, but curious to see whether he considers going to the transfer portal, whether he sticks around. He had a fantastic season, but when there's someone else gunning for your job, it's tough to stick around.
McCarthy from the shotgun, 2nd down and 10. Corum is the running back to the left. 2 receivers split to the left, 1 to the right. McCarthy drops to throw, fires across the field. It's a nice pass right to the chest of number 6, Cornelius Johnson at the 36-yard line. And that's a Michigan 1st down. Keely Ringo on the stop.
So even late in this game, Michigan's offense is still fighting on, keeping the chains moving with the new quarterback under center.
McCarthy swings it out to the right side. Into the boundary goes Blake Corum past the 40, and he's to the 41-yard line. Picked up a nice block from A.J. Henning along the Michigan sideline before he's brought down. Nice horizontal play by the Georgia defense to get out there and make a stop. Gain of 5 on the play. It's 2nd and 5. Looked like the linebacker Quay Walker was out there again for the Bulldogs. McCarthy goes to the shotgun with Corum to his left. He fires a bullet to Eric All, and it bounces off the big hands of the tight end. Incomplete.
So far in this game, we've seen All able to reel in pretty much anything flung his way. A rare drop from him on that one.
Lewis Seen was in the coverage on the sideline. McCarthy will empty out the backfield. 3 receivers, including Blake Corum, to the left. He's on the sideline. 2 receivers to the right. All in Anthony. McCarthy getting the signals from the sideline. Josh Gaddis on the headsets, making an audible call to the Wolverines. Michigan from the 41 on 3rd down and 5. McCarthy gets a snap. JJ got to step up around the pressure. He can't get away, and now he will. McCarthy will run to the 35-40. McCarthy 45-50. He's inside Georgia territory, and there's multiple flags coming.
That's something we wouldn't see from Cade. Scramble away from pressure like that.
We'll have to get a call from Scott Campbell along the sideline. Georgia is acting as if it's going to go against Michigan.
Looks like Michigan's acting like it's going to go against them too.
It looks like it's going to go against Blake Corum, who came from the backside of the safety Dan Jackson, and, well, he laid the wood on him.
The result of the play was a line to gain was made. After the play was over, personal foul, illegal blindside block. Number 2, offense, 15-yard penalty from the dead ball spot. It'll still be 1st and 10.
So that is Blake Corum. He was downfield blocking and decided to come back to help out his quarterback. And that'll force the Wolverines back into their own territory after the big game.
At that point, the quarterback was already out of bounds. We got JJ 2 feet stepped out. So interesting decision right there, but I know with emotions high, with potentially their last time playing with some of these players.
Michigan will have it from their own 38-yard line, but it is 1st down and 10. Edwards is the running back. 2 receivers split wide to the right. Andrel Anthony is left. McCarthy, the snap. 5-step drop, steps up in the pocket. He'll run it again, and he'll take a dual hit. Man, the youngster is not afraid to scoot away from some defenders, but he couldn't get away from Quay Walker.
And he gets up quick, even after these big-time hits.
Michigan goes quick, under 9 minutes to go. They trail by 31. 2nd down and 3. McCarthy drops to throw, fires it short of his intended receiver, Andrel Anthony, at the 50. That'll bring up 3rd down and 3 from the Michigan 45. The 2 roommates stand in the backfield, J.J. McCarthy and Donovan Edwards, behind the starting offensive line of Hayes, Keegan, Vastardis, Zinter, and Stuber. 2 All-American offensive linemen across that line. Eric All will join them as the 6th lineman to the left side. 3 receivers split wide to the right. Edwards is the back. He's the bullet in the pistol behind McCarthy in the shotgun. Handoff, Edwards right up the middle. He's towards midfield. And they're going to give him the 1st down at the 49. He needed the 48, got 4.
That's a tandem Michigan fans should get used to, with McCarthy and Edwards being the future of this program. 2022 and probably 2023, you'll be seeing a lot of them.
McCarthy from the shotgun from their own 49-yard line. Waits for the snap from Vastardis, drops to throw. Plenty of time, looks across the middle for the tight end. It's tipped off his hands and incomplete. A.J. Henning was there to try and play the ball off the rebound, and Eric All unable to come down with yet another pass.
Yeah, Michigan's doing just enough to keep the drive alive, but it isn't looking pretty. A lot of drop passes, a lot of missed opportunities.
8 minutes, 20 seconds to go. 2nd down and 10 for Michigan. Edwards is the running back to the left of McCarthy in the shotgun. 3 receivers split wide to the right, includes the tight end Eric All. Henning and Wilson join him. Wide to the left is Cornelius Johnson. Michigan from the left hash in the 49-yard line. JJ gets a snap. He'll wind up deep towards the right sideline, and it is overthrown of his intended receiver, Wilson.
Seems like Michigan's just pulling out from the desperation tab of their playbook right now. Even though the game is out of hands, they're struggling to even find the end zone or get points.
That ball sailed about 55 yards in the air over the head of Roman Wilson. He missed him by about 2 yards. Darion Kendrick, who has 2 interceptions, was in the coverage of Wilson. Michigan empties out the backfield on 3rd down and 10. 8:13 to go in the 4th quarter here in Miami. McCarthy calling an audible to his offensive line. Vastardis pointing out traffic. McCarthy gets the snap. Rolls out to his right. He'll fire long down the sideline for Donovan Edwards. He reels it in inside the 10-yard line, plus the penalty flag.
Ruling on the field as a catch.
That was a big-time catch. He'll be seeing that on his highlight reel.
Down to the 6-yard line. We have yet to find out what the laundry is, but I think we have an idea.
They're moving the ball, so it's probably on the defense.
Pass interference, number 7, defense. That penalty is declined. 1st down.
Quay Walker, the guilty party, he was called for the penalty, and he also made the tackle. 1st down and goal for the Wolverines from the 6-yard line. J.J. McCarthy, a beautiful pass to Donovan Edwards.
So Michigan knocking on the door of the end zone here for the first time all night.
Donovan Edwards yet again being utilized in the passing game for the Wolverines.
The ruling on the field as a catch for a 1st down. The previous play is under further review.
Well, there we go. They'll take a look at it. Just under 8 minutes to go. 7:59 on the game clock. Georgia leads 34-3. They'll take a look at the Donovan Edwards catch, and it'd have to be a lot of evidence to overturn this one.
Yeah, and so far tonight, nothing has been overturned. Curious to take a look at this, whether we'll get a replay view up at our booth. Watching it live, it looked like a miraculous catch.
After review,
Maybe
the ruling on the field
slow-mo.
stands. 1st down.
So there you have it. Yeah, not even spending 20 seconds on that one. And Michigan's offense is going to come back on the field. JJ coming into this team, coming into this season, was really touted for his rushing ability, his ability to scramble out of pressure on his feet. So far this game, and especially this drive that has been all his, he's been showcasing his arm. He overthrew Roman Wilson on that one dart, but was able to finally get the chains moving. Handful of passes on 3rd down. It's very, very exciting to see as a Michigan fan that this potentially future quarterback of the program is not one-dimensional.
Cade McNamara is on the Michigan sideline, tossing a football around with the graduate Alan Bowman, the transfer from Texas Tech, and Dan Villari, the other quarterbacks that are a little deeper on the depth chart. But if you're Jim Harbaugh and you're having a conversation with Mr. McCarthy, I think there's something that has to be said about, young man, you got to learn how to slide.
Yeah, it's called protecting the investment. This kid, he could have a future NFL career ahead of him. I'm sure a lot of Michigan fans hope that maybe follows the lineage of Tom Brady, but it won't happen if you're gunning for every extra yard. You look at Lamar Jackson, that's been one of his biggest criticisms in the NFL, is that he puts his body on the line too much, and whether that's going to come back and bite him. And he has been injured this season. I don't know if that's exactly a cause and effect or necessarily correlated. But you do see players who are able to protect themselves and take the slide have better longevity. especially in this brutal sport of football.
JJ has carried 5 times for 23 yards, and not being one-dimensional is very important in the always evolving game of the sport of football. And after the review, the official spot will be the 8-yard line for the Wolverines, as the media timeout is about 25 seconds from finalizing. And, you know, Adam, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. This is the final media timeout that we'll have today, because we are always fighting the guy in the red hat down on the field.
Yeah, I agree, and it is 10:33 right now, so if this game wraps up soon, maybe Michigan fans could go out and forget this game as 2022 comes in and 2021 comes to a close.
Let's hope for another Big Ten championship and another defeat of Ohio State in 2022. McCarthy from the shotgun on first down and goal from the 8-yard line. A horizontal handoff to Donovan Edwards inside the 10 and down to about the 5-yard line. That's where they'll mark him. It was a deep handoff. Edwards started his carry at about the 12. The line of scrimmage was the 10.
I have a proposition for you. How much does this game comprise of the climate? Michigan's coming from up north from the cold. Georgia, it's not exactly Florida's humidity, but it's a lot more similar in Athens.
Well, the turnover battle I don't think has much to do with the weather. I think the weather will compensate anything with turnovers. From the 6-yard line, Michigan looking to punch their ticket into the end zone for the first time. McCarthy, a quick throw across the middle, and it's incomplete. Intended for Roman Wilson, and coverage was Keely Ringo. Bring up 3rd down and goal from the 6 for the Wolverines. They work from the left hash. They're just looking to put 6 or 7 points on the board, make the score look a little closer by the time 000's hit.
Yeah, I'm curious if they even go for the kick if they're unable to score now. You want to find the end zone, I feel like, at this point.
7:13 to go in the 4th quarter. Blake Corum is the running back to the left of McCarthy. 2 receivers split wide to the right, 2 tight ends left. McCarthy rolls to the right, looking for somewhere to go with the ball. Cuts up the field at the 10, shoestring tackle, and McCarthy just got it away in time. And he walks off as if nothing were to happen. But injured on the field is Nakobe Dean. It looks like he's cramping on the far side, but that's a loss Georgia simply cannot afford.
Timeout for an injured defensive player.
Is their star linebacker, Nakobe Dean.
Yeah, the medical crew will come on out, so another timeout here. Respect to all on that one for lunging at it. He wasn't the intended receiver, but after the initial tip, play until it hits the ground, leaving it all out on the field, even down 34-3.
Nakobe Dean sitting on his backside. He sat up. He was grabbing at his calf, so you'd like to hope for Georgia's sake that this one's just a cramp and no damage to the lower ankle or anywhere near the knee.
So we got a chant breaking out, the SEC chant in the crowd. Looks like we're going to have an all-SEC championship game on the 10th in Indianapolis. So it's deep in the heart of Big Ten country, deep in the heart. It's where the Big Ten championship was, but it doesn't matter. Going to be 2 Southern teams making their way up to Indiana.
Interestingly enough, coming into today, the SEC was 1-5 in bowl games. They are now 3-5 after Alabama and Georgia's victory here today. Michigan had their first loss, or excuse me, the Big Ten had their first loss with Rutgers as they filled in for a bowl game. They were brought down by Wake Forest. Michigan will go for it on 4th down and 6 from the 6. Looking to put the ball in the end zone for the first time this afternoon. They trail 34-3.
No backs in the backfield.
Michigan is empty. And here comes Edwards in motion from left to right. McCarthy swings it out to Edwards. He's got one man to beat. At the 5-yard line, he's going to be pushed out of bounds. So no score for the Wolverines. They don't go vertical, they go horizontal. Darion Kendrick, who's had a fantastic game today on the stop.
we had Kirby Smart look like he was doing the rain dance out there right before the play, trying to signal to his defense. But
timeout on the field.
Unable, I guess it was a success for for him, able to get the stop there. Michigan has nothing to show for that drive.
And Donovan Edwards, who's been utilized quite a bit today, he came down to 2 final schools, Adam. One was Michigan, and the other was Georgia. And he decided to go with the Wolverines, and I'm really hoping he's not second-guessing the decision. I know Donovan loves it in Ann Arbor, loves his teammates in the program. Of course, Coach Harbaugh for recruiting him. Well, the Wolverines are going to go home on the losing end of things today, unless something truly miraculous were to happen with 7 minutes to go here in the fourth quarter.
I don't even think Tom Brady, the best alumni from either of these schools, could bring a victory out of this one. I know he has success with late-game comebacks in the Orange Bowl. I know he has success playing in this stadium against the Miami Dolphins, but I don't even think he would be able to come back.
Well, Michigan, let's look forward to next year. I mean, positivity talks. There's going to be a lot of offseason talk about the team and the coaching. I'm sure there will be a couple of flip-flop changes, transfer portals, maybe a couple of big ads the Wolverines can depend on. But for next year, the non-conference slate, we talked about it earlier, a bit easier. It includes Colorado State, Hawaii, and UConn. And then the Big Ten schedule is subject to change. So as of right now, if you looked on the website, Maryland, Penn State, Nebraska, Illinois, Indiana are the home games. And on the road are Iowa, Michigan State, Rutgers, and Ohio State. However, we've been told Michigan State will be at home and Indiana will be on the road. Yeah, so there is a premier home game for the Wolverines, presumably the Maze Out in the night game against the Spartans from East Lansing.
Nebraska at home is going to be big too, but I feel the opponents are set. I feel like the home and away is going to change, but no Power 5 opponents outside of Big Ten, out of conference opponents this season. They faced Washington this past year. That was their big opponent there, but relatively easy, dare I say, cupcake schedule they have going. For the first time in a long time, they won't have to face Wisconsin, who has been there up until this upcoming season. It's been Michigan's protected rival.
Right.
Now Nebraska will take that position. So a bit of a change there.
Next time they play a Power 5 team in the non-conference is 2024.
Is that
they'll
Texas?
Head to Austin to play Texas, and then the following year they'll play in Norman to take on Oklahoma and the Sooners. So Brett Venables, new head coach there, the defensive coordinator from Clemson, takes over.
By that time, both of those teams will likely be in the SEC too, so Michigan can't get rid of this SEC curse. After this play, I got a trivia question for you about the SEC and Michigan.
You and your trivia.
I love trivia so much, and I'm curious if any listeners at home will be able to get this one too.
First down and 10 for the Bulldogs from the 6-yard line. Bennett will hand off to the right side and brought down by the interior defensive line for the Wolverines. Mozzie Smith, Christopher Hinton in there on the stop of Kendall Milton, the running back for the Bulldogs. The sophomore from Fresno, California, had 49 carries coming into today with just 1 touchdown.
Okay, here's my trivia as
go ahead.
Georgia runs down the clock. Michigan, obviously, they've been a premier college football program for over a century now, and they've played many teams, many powerful opponents. What is the only team in the SEC Michigan has never played? I'll let you sit on that until after this play.
Bennett from the shotgun, hands off to Milton, then again met by the interior D-line of the Wolverines. Mozzie Smith again on the stop, just past the 10-yard line to the 12. The only team the Wolverines haven't played from the SEC.
And it's a current, I know there's been some realignment, so they've played some of those teams before they were in the SEC. But among the current, there's 14 teams in the SEC, is that right? Or 12?
I believe so, but here's going to be my guess.
Okay.
Do you have the answer right there?
I do have
Missouri.
the answer. No, Michigan has played Mizzou, but that is a good one. But it makes sense. Of all the SEC, they're probably the most Midwest, I would say, either Mizzou or maybe Kentucky.
Bennett from the shotgun again. He flips to the left side for McIntosh, who tries the Michigan sideline. Taylor Upshaw, the senior, is there to help push him out of bounds. Donovan Jeter and Brad Hawkins, the reinforcements.
And we actually have a listener get it right. Walter said, LSU, Louisiana State University. Michigan has never played the Tigers, which is interesting because both Michigan and LSU are long-standing premier collegiate football programs. We would have thought at least in maybe some bowl game over the years.
So do I get half a point for picking Tigers?
Half of the SEC are the Tigers. That doesn't get you much of anything.
So it's 4th down and 3. Michigan should be getting the ball back. And booting it away is Jake Camard, just his second punt of the day. The ball will take a Michigan bounce to midfield, and the Wolverines have 4:40 to try and put the ball into the end zone for the first time here in the college football playoff. Well, the Wolverines are, bear with me, just the second Big Ten team to score points in the college football playoff.
Yeah. Unlike the team from up north, Michigan was able to avoid the goose egg, but they were not able to find the end zone as of yet. 4 minutes, 40 seconds to potentially change that.
Michigan will bring J.J. McCarthy into the game to remain as the quarterback. Blake Corum is his running back to his left. 2 receivers split out to each side from midfield. McCarthy, a 3-step drop, throws as a wheel route. Oh, goodness, Blake Corum just had the wood unloaded on him.
He'll be feeling that one tomorrow.
Chaz Chambliss on the big hit of Blake Corum. The ball popped free and incomplete. 2nd down and 10 from the 50.
It will stop the clock with 4:35, but I don't think the clock is much consideration to either sidelines at this point. Maybe the Georgia one, they want to get the trophy out. But
well, this play is now under review. You think they could be looking at potential targeting on this play?
I think it might be whether it's a catch and then a fumble versus an incomplete. But maybe targeting, I'm seeing the replay, did lower his head. So quite
the top
possibly.
of his helmet went right into the chest of Blake Corum.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to end up being a targeting, and it may be a quick review. It was a nice hit. He did lead with the head, but at the end of the day, no contact to the head or neck area of Blake Corum.
Yeah, and he did not take a step with control of the ball, so won't be a catch and a fumble if that is under review either. Another trivia question for you. Curious if you did your homework or not. Prior to tonight, when is the last time Michigan has played Georgia? They've played them twice in school history.
65.
You got it.
Was that the time they lost 15-7?
I think so.
Okay.
So you did do your research. I'm proud.
I did. Thank you
As
very
the
much. Do you know the first time they played?
Play is an incomplete pass.
57?
Look at us. We're 2 for 2.
Targeting
2 for 2.
defense. Using the crown of the helmet. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic. First down.
There you have it. It's targeting.
But most notably, no ejection.
Yeah.
So that's big for Georgia to make sure that they have the depth for that game against Alabama. If you were to have been ejected for targeting in the second half, you have to sit out of the first half of the next game, which, of course, will be the national championship.
I always found that an interesting rule. Like, if it happened with 1 second left to go before halftime.
Disqualified.
Well, there you go. He was disqualified. A late call from Scott Campbell. So Chaz Chambliss will be out of the first half of the Alabama game. Michigan from the 35-yard line has it 1st down and 10. McCarthy, the quarterback. Edwards, the running back, to his left. 3 receivers split wide to the right. McCarthy, a quick throw to the right flat. It's incomplete, intended for Henning. To bring up 2nd down and 10 for the Wolverines.
And with that, Michigan's already at pretty great field position on Georgia's 35, so within the range of Moody, but I think they're going for the end zone here.
Dumas Jackson in coverage for the Bulldogs. 2nd down and 10 from the 35. Left hash for the Wolverines. Edwards, number 7, is the running back. 2 yards to the left of McCarthy in the shotgun. 2 receivers split wide right, Henning and Johnson. 1 to the left is Anthony. The up back is Carter Selzer, a 5th-year senior. 1 catch in his career. Shifting from left to right is Donovan Edwards. It's a fake handoff, play action for McCarthy, who looks long towards the end zone. Andrell Anthony caught. Touchdown, Michigan! Andrell Anthony making his name known. The freshman from East Lansing. Another connection with J.J. McCarthy. his third touchdown of his freshman season and his
Rolling
career.
on the field's a touchdown.
There you go. Anthony made a name for himself against Michigan State. The native from East Lansing, I'm sure that game was very important to him. Michigan finds the end zone, makes it a little bit less embarrassing, I guess, loss against Georgia. Still not a good victory here. Let's see if they're going to go for two. It looks like they have the offense on the field.
Michigan now trailing 34-9. Will keep the O on. And J.J. McCarthy will shift over as the running back. He now flips it over to A.J. Henning on a reverse. Henning cuts up the field. The two-point conversion's good. How about that for the trickery? J.J. McCarthy shifted behind the left guard, Trevor Keegan. Corum got the snap. He handed it off to McCarthy, who flipped it to Henning, and he brought it in for a reverse score. Michigan now trails 34-11.
Do you bother with the onside kick here, or do you just boot it?
Yeah, why not?
Did Michigan attempt a single onside kick this season? Did they get one against
They didn't do
Michigan
an onside
State?
kick. However, they did a squib against Wisconsin to end the first half. Wisconsin took advantage of the good field position. They went to score. You and I were on the call of that first half, and we were like, what are they doing?
I know, that was poor game management there. Fortunately for Michigan, it didn't end up mattering with a resounding victory after that one. But did Michigan late against Michigan State, did they get an onside attempt?
I don't believe so.
I'm trying to I guess at this
because
point it's
at
been
that point of the
several
game,
months.
Michigan had thrown an interception down 4, and then Michigan State was able to get one first down and take a couple of kneel downs to finish out that game. But for J.J. McCarthy, very nice to see. 5th touchdown of the season. He's thrown 2 picks on the year. Andrell Anthony had 2 touchdowns in that MSU game. It's his first score since that day in East Lansing, and the Wolverines will line up for the onside kick. Jake Moody will aim it towards the 6 Wolverines on the right side of the field. Moody checks with both sides, left and right hands, and he'll take a quick little squib kick towards the right side. Right there to pick it up and take it back is the deep man, Dumas Jackson. And he's brought down almost immediately at the 34-yard line. He had to go a long way to grab that football. German Green on the stop, the senior from DeSoto, Texas.
And that was a bit of trickery, too. Michigan lined up as if it were an onside kick, forcing Georgia's hand. And only one guy back there to scoop it up. So it was kind of a squib, but only will begin at the 34, so not incredible field position.
34-11 is the advantage for Georgia. 4:20 to go in the fourth quarter. Stetson Bennett remains the quarterback. We've got a couple of changes for the Bulldogs, although at running back, Seven Clark is deep for him, and he gets the handoff right up the middle. There he goes. It's a long run, and excuse me, that's not Seven Clark. That's even deeper on the depth chart. Dejuan Edwards on the carry. A big carry right up the middle. He almost lost the football well inside Michigan territory to the 35-yard line. DJ Turner, the cornerback, came in for the stop.
And
So
Georgia,
first down Bulldogs from the 35 of Michigan.
Georgia milking the clock as they have all half, it looks like.
Not much scoring here in the second half. The 45 points combined between the two teams. Bennett from the shotgun will hand off to Edwards right up the middle, and he's met by the interior D-line of the Wolverines. Donovan Jeter on the stop.
So 3:25 remaining. This game is
Timeout.
milking its way
Michigan.
down.
Second half, 30 seconds.
Michigan takes a 30-second timeout right there.
They might as well try and get the ball back and let number 9 run a 2-minute drill for the Wolverines. Maybe get a couple of the seniors in that haven't seen all that much playing time. Michigan dressed all but about 30 athletes here today. And all the hard work that the scout team has put in this season. Of course, we're 16, 17 weeks deep. This is their 14th game. A lot of those guys deserve some credit that maybe they won't typically get if the season were to be a little bit shorter. But Michigan's going to come short of their all-time highest winning number in a season. That would have been 13. They're at 12-1. They'll drop to 12-2 after today, and the season will be over. But here you go, the MVPs of the game. Offensively, Stetson Bennett, well-deserved for him. And on defense, Georgia, pretty obvious. Darion Kendrick is going to get the call. 1 forced fumble, 2 interceptions.
I don't think that's a surprise for anyone who watched a minute of this game. Did they have a special teams MVP or no? Not in this one.
I wish. It would have been the kicker, however. Yeah. Kendall Milton gets a call to the left side of the line. Nakai Hill Green shoots through the C gap and makes a stop.
Timeout, Michigan. Last of the half.
And the Georgia fans will be booing as if Jim Harbaugh, they don't know who that is.
Yeah, I don't think they did their homework before this one. Everyone knows Harbaugh plays until triple zeros, as if he has a chance. I think Michigan is very lucky to have Harbaugh as coach. He's a guy who clearly loves the program, even more than the money. We saw the past couple of weeks, throughout college football, coaches have gone for the biggest bag, whether it's Coach Kelly, whether it's Coach Riley, whether some of the other vacancies in Miami and Oregon, and it's going to be a whole game of whack-a-mole and musical chairs. Michigan is lucky to have such a great coach who not only went to the university and understands the program, but he seems to love coaching in Ann Arbor.
3rd down and 6 for the Bulldogs. Kendall Milton is the running back. The trio of tight ends line up to the left. The running back is to the left of the quarterback, Bennett, and it's reverse. McConkey towards the right side, and he's brought down at about the 24-yard line. The ball came free, but he's
on the
ruled down.
field. First down was made. The runner was down by rule.
Yeah, and it looks like his knee was down pretty clearly there.
A nice little form of trickery. That's almost the same play that the Wolverines ran to get on the board against Ohio State with the A.J. Henning reverse towards the right sideline. But Georgia picks up a first down. And Michigan, with no timeouts left, has no way to stop the clock. Under 3 to go here in the college football playoff semifinals. Georgia will be going on to play a dynasty, the Alabama Crimson Tide.
At this point, you might want to call the CFP the Nick Saban Bowl.
Milton gets the call again up the middle, and Chris Jenkins is there to make the stop after a gain of about 2 yards. For the sophomore running back. And the clock continues to move. Georgia try to get into the end zone one more time. Michigan trying to keep this score as honest as possible. 34-11 is the Georgia advantage with 2:15 to go here in Miami Gardens.
Nick Saban knows Miami Gardens pretty well, had 2 seasons as a coach of the Dolphins. Not the success he was used to in Alabama in college. Whole different beast.
Dazion Edwards is the running back. He shifts from right to left for Bennett. He'll get the flip carry towards the left sideline, and Brad Hawkins in hot pursuit, and the vet almost wrestles him down, but he gets away from Hawkins, and Chris Jenkins had to come from behind along with the senior Josh Ross to help make the stop. It'll bring up 3rd down.
So it's going to be 1:37 and ticking. If Michigan gets a stop here, they might have a chance for one last shot at the end zone.
And that's a long ways to go. 3rd down and 5 for Georgia from the 19. And I want to take this quick time to shout out my parents who are actually here in Miami. And it was 22 years ago today, the Orange Bowl, they were watching that my dad proposed to my mom. So
wow.
A very cool story. Michigan ended up winning that Orange Bowl, and that was Tom Brady's overtime game.
Let me correct you, 22 years from tomorrow.
From tomorrow,
yes.
That's right. Right up the middle goes Dazion Edwards, and he stopped short of the first down to gain with under a minute to go. It'll bring up 4th down.
That's such a fun story. I wish Tom Brady could have some connection to my life like that. But you know that marriage was destined for success when Tom Brady commemorated it with a win like that. So it's going to be 4th and 2, 38 seconds left, 20 on the game or play clock. Gonna maybe be like a couple seconds of a difference between the two. not much for Harbaugh to work with. You know the game's over when the Broward County Sheriffs come on out and get ready to escort the coach onto the field.
Timeout,
Kirby Smart.
Georgia, first of the half, 30 seconds.
Will take a timeout with 14 seconds to go in this ball game on 4th down and 2. And I thought they may just take a delay game and try to put one up through the uprights and extend this lead. But it looks like the offense will stay on the field for Georgia.
We'd like to thank everyone for spending their New Year's Eve with us, both listening on YouTube and over the FM airwaves on 88.3 FM Ann Arbor, WCBN. Only our second game in all of 2021 over the FM airwaves, hoping that 2022 we could get some more of that.
I think a couple of people, too, Adam, are going to be pretty upset if Georgia doesn't try to kick this ball. And when I say those people, they originate in Las Vegas. I'll just say it right now. The over-under in this game was 45.5. The score is at 45 with 14 seconds to go, and Georgia well within field goal range. Stetson Bennett will hand off to Kendall Milton, who will get the Georgia first down, and that will be the game. They needed 2. They got 3, and Georgia will take the field. Kirby Smart and Jim Harbaugh will meet at midfield to say job well done, job better done by the Georgia Bulldogs on this Friday afternoon on New Year's Eve. And what a job well done by the boys in maize and blue on the far sideline to get to this point. A 2-4 season in 2020. They turned it all the way around, and the record is now 12-2. Who in the world would have thought that the Michigan Wolverines would get to this point in their season? And you just got to go across the board for the Wolverines and say thank you to everyone that made this possible, especially for WCBN. But for the Wolverines, you've got to say a massive thank you to guys like Josh Ross, Brad Hawkins, Daxton Hill if he decides to go, David Ojabo if he decides to go. But most importantly on the defense, Aiden Hutchinson, as he will be one of the most missed players by far when the Wolverines take the field next fall. On the offensive side, Andrew Vastardis and Andrew Stuber, they'll be very missed. And there's a lot of question marks to fill on who's going to be those starters. The wide receiver room will be loaded. The running back room will be without Hassan Haskins. And the Wolverines line should be fine. The tight ends all coming back. The defensive backs all coming back with the exception of the safeties. R.J. Moulton and Rod Moore will fill those holes. But the Wolverines seem to be a D-end machine in the last decade. And let's do a fun game really quick. Let's do your prediction for 2022.
Ooh. Okay, here's what I'm going to say. Let's say it. I don't want to go out too much on a limb. I'll say 9-3. Michigan will lose on the road to Ohio State. Playing in the Horseshoe's always tough. They'll probably throw one at home, maybe Nebraska, and then maybe one fluke loss there too. You know what? I'll say 10-2. That's my final answer. Lock it in now. Screenshot that. Record it. How about you? Who do you have?
I'm not going to make a prediction.
You're not going to make
I'm
one.
not going to make a prediction. It's going to be a good year.
It's going to
be a good year.
It will be a good year. This program is looking up, and in a way it really hasn't in a long time. A lot of Michigan fans, even though this game did not end the way they would have hoped, this program is moving up and has the right trajectory.
The MVP of this game is Stetson Bennett, 21 of 31, 307 yards and 3 touchdowns. Kenny McIntosh also threw a touchdown for Georgia, so none on the ground, but 4 touchdowns for the Bulldogs. Zamir White, 12 carries, 54 yards. He was the leading rusher. Brock Bowers had a quiet game, but a touchdown, 6 receptions for 65 yards. And Cook out of the backfield, 3 receptions for 99 yards and a wheel route touchdown for the Wolverines. J.J. McCarthy was 7 of 17 for 131 yards and a touchdown. Cade McNamara, though, 11 for 19, 106 and 2 interceptions. For the Wolverines on the ground, you didn't really like what you saw very much. 9 attempts for Hassan Haskins, who had one of the best years in a long time for the Michigan Wolverines on the ground. The all-time leader in individual touchdowns, had just 9 carries, 39 yards, no scores. J.J. McCarthy, though, 5 carries for 23 yards. Michigan through the air, Eric All, 4 receptions for 63, and Donovan Edwards, 3 receptions for 49 yards. Michigan is bested by the Georgia Bulldogs, 34-11 in the college football playoff semifinal, and that's a wrap for 2021.
Yeah, we got 57 minutes left in this year. Hopefully next year's even better, both for the listeners and the team at Michigan in Ann Arbor. Before we go, special shout out to Jim Campbell, our station engineer. Without him, we would not be able to get to you live over the FM airwaves here from sunny Miami. We're really taking it in. Also, shout out to the Georgia radio crew. We had a bit of a technical snafu before the game, and they came in clutch for us, giving us the right adapter that we needed. So appreciate that. Appreciate the rest of the broadcast crew for joining me down in Miami. Zach Linfield, Kelin Flynn, Amer Bektas. But it's been a real pleasure calling with you this season, Zach, and I'm looking forward to next year.
Next year is going to be a lot of fun. Expect us to be on quite a few calls, and, well, if you're lucky, you might just hear 2 familiar voices for, the national championship. Amer and I, we both got our credentials passed. We don't know who else may be joining us, but we will be on the call for the national championship in Indianapolis between Alabama and Georgia. Of course, we'll have to get our way there. That'll be a fun ride. Amer, who's sitting right to the left of me. But it was a fantastic year spending it with you, Adam, and for 2021, and everyone that we spent our time with here for the University of Michigan and WCBN. Thank you very much. Again, Michigan falls to the Georgia Bulldogs in the college football playoff semifinal. What a year it was for the Maize and Blue, 34-11. Georgia wins. They'll go on to play in the national championship in this following Monday. So for the final time in 2021, we cannot wait to see you in 2022. Good night, everybody. Happy New Year, and go blue. From Adam Bressler, my name's Zach Linfield. Good night, Michigan.